So welcome to this live, and in this live I'm going to be doing a complete beginner's guide to Godot 4.7. So Godot 4.7 is actually going to be one of the best updates to the Godot engine. So I'm going to be talking about what the Godot engine is used for, and I'm going to be showing you the basic and the most efficient way to be able to use it and different parts of it. So I'm just going to do a general introduction to anyone who is starting to use Godot for the first time, so you can actually begin to experience, work with it. So now I'm going to start with, all right. So I'm going to start first here. So if you want to download Godot, you can actually go to the Godot website and download Godot. So right now we'll have 4.7 as the latest version. There are other versions that you can be able to get depending on your system. So but right now we'll have the Godot 4.7, that's the latest version. 4.8 will be coming out very soon. So once you install it, once you download it, so you can just unzip it. It's very lightweight. I think it's about 100 and something MB currently. So that's one of the good things about Godot engine. So once you open up you run the editor, you just have something like this. So now first, before I talk about it, let's talk about what Godot engine is really, what it is. So Godot engine is actually a free game engine, and it's actually open source, so you can be able to actually get it and use it for whatever you want to. So now the key thing about it is that it's can be used to make, or you can use it to actually make both 2D games and 3D games, and also applications. In fact, there are different applications that were created using Godot engine, so you can actually be able to use Godot engine to create your own applications without actually having to use other software like Visual Studio or whatever you want to be able to use. So you can use Godot engine to do almost everything that you want to do. Now Godot engine goes beyond just creating things on your laptop. You can also use Godot engine on your desktop. Okay, you can use it on your laptop, on your mobile phone. Like you can work with Android. That's another place you can be able to actually use it, and also your tablets. You can also use it on both Windows and iOS, that's Apple systems. So and Linux too. So it has a lot of use scenarios. And when you're exporting your games, you can export games even to your PlayStation, to different kind of platforms, web, desktop, and also you can also do some kind of there's this third-party plugin that you can be able to use to be able to put into games like Xbox and PlayStation. So but that's a much more advanced stuff. So now let's go into the software itself and see what is actually used for. So once you open Godot engine, you're going to see this particular thing here. So I have my Godot and I'm using 4.7 currently. So you have your project. So this is where you see all the projects you have been working on. So if you look at here, I've been working on a lot of projects right from time. So now the thing you want to know about this project is that whenever you see, like if you look at here, I have my 4.7, 4.6 here. I will advise when you download a project, let's say for example you go to my.io and you download a project, check the particular one that it was used for. It will work better with it. Now sometimes there are some compatibility issues when you download a project, and I'm going to be doing a general, okay, will you be showing orchestrator in this live? So I'll be doing a general introduction to this. So probably if you stick around and you ask me questions towards when I begin to work on the project, I will also involve that, because that's part of the things I'm going to talk about. So but this is not specifically for orchestrator, so this is a general thing. All right, so just stick around and you keep asking your questions and I will attend to them. So now, all right, so next thing here is we'll have this here. So we'll have the projects. So that's where you have all your projects. If you go to your asset store, by default you have an asset store here. So you can click on asset store and you can have access to the asset store. We used to call it asset lib before, but now we'll call it asset store. So this is where you can be able to download things like different kinds of resources that you can be able to use. Okay, so it's very easy to actually work with. So when you actually download these resources, let's say for example an add-on that's used for making a character, you just have it immediately there and you can be able to use it. Most of them are actually MIT licensed, so you can freely use them. So alright, so then the next thing we want to be able to do is let's go back to our project here, and we'll have create. So if you want to create a new project, you can click here and you create a blank new project. Okay, and the next thing here is we're going to come back to that. Next here we'll have the import. Import enables you to click on import and you can import an existing folder. All right, maybe you have a project you already have before. Okay, install. Okay, all right, let's try out let's do for this, and this one will have a scan. This enables you to scan through different projects. You can search a particular project. So let's import a particular project and see what it's going to look like. So if you click on this import right now, we can actually, if you look at my files here, I have my Godot files, and I have, let's say for example I go to my 2026 file, and let's say I want to get my level invasion. So if I double click on it and open up the folder, you will go to this project.godot. That's what you should select. Once you select it and you click on open, automatically it will open that file, provided it will work very well, provided that the version is very compatible with the version you're using. So if the version I'm using creating this lava invasion is 4.5, once there are no issues, with the compatibility of the two software, it will open it efficiently. Okay, so I hope I answered that question. So that's how you can install or import a particular version, a particular project. So that's how you install or import a project. You said install, but it's actually to import a project. That's the terminology here. So once you click on it and you open it, it will open up a project. So I don't want to do that now because it will take a bit of time to do that. So if you want to also scan for a project, you can just click on scan and you can start searching for any project. So if I want to use my Alpha Quest, this is the first game I made for mobile using Godot 3. That's the first one. That should be 3.5, I think. All right, so that's the thing. You can actually check it out on my itch.io. It's actually free. You can download it, but make sure you use Godot 3.5 or thereabouts to be able to open this project before you can access it. And everything was done using visual scripting. That's the old visual scripting. So but if you go there, you still see recent visual scripting projects that I actually have there. So, and thank you for all those who are supporting me and donating on the itch.io account there. Thank you very much for that. Then also if we go up here, you actually see that you have remove missing. If you want to remove any missing thing, okay, you can remove that. So, and you can also select any one you want. Let's say for example, okay, probably we'll do that later. We'll do exporting game towards the end, and if you stay, because we're going to actually make a complete thing, all right, a complete game without actually writing a code, all right, and then when we'll get to that ending part, you will do the exporting of the game. I will show you how to be able to bring everything together. So I'll put that as part of the things I will talk about. So just stick to the class and I will do that. Okay, all right, so I have this here. I'm going to click on create. So I'm going to click on create right now. Okay, before I talk about the create, if you look at here, if you select a project, you can run it, you can edit it, you can rename it, you can duplicate it, you can also manage stats surrounding that particular project, just more like a description of it, and then you can also remove it from the project. So right now I want to create a new project because I want a blank project we're going to be working with. So if I click on create, now you're going to see a new project, a blank project. So in my blank project, I'm going to just have this, and I'm going to call it Godot 4.7 live class. That's what I'm going to call this. So once I put that, it's going to be telling me this create folder means it's going to create its own folder. So I'll say, okay, yeah, create your own folder. I'll say browse. So now browse means I'm telling you where it's going to save. By default, it's saving it inside my documents. I don't want you to save inside my documents, so I'm going to click on browse and go to my Godot, and immediately I'm going to go to my projects where I want it to be saved. And once I put it there, I can simply be able to come in and select that particular one. Make sure you select this so that it's going to create a folder specifically for that particular one. Now let's go into this part. So if you are working for desktop, let's say you want to make a game for desktop or your mobile, you use this forward plus. If you're making just for your mobile phones, you want to export the games to your mobile phone, you can use your mobile here. And also if you're using the one for compatibility, all right, so the compatibility is the one that, let's say for example you want to have fast renders, and if you are working with Godot on a low PC, a low end PC, let's say for example it doesn't have a graphics card and it doesn't have, you know, all those high-end graphics for gaming laptops, you want to be able to run Godot on compatibility mode. If you put it here, it will not be able to run it. Okay, so make sure you actually put it on the compatibility mode, like the way I'm actually doing my own. So once you put it on the compatibility mode, then the next thing you want to do is to go on to create your project. So I'm going to just snap this so I can see my create project. So look, right now I have my create project. Okay, so I'm going to click on create project and it's going to create my project. So right now, once it creates a project, I'm going to be able to, you know, create an entire project. I want to be able to create an entire game without actually writing a single line of code. I'm going to be using different add-ons because I literally think that most people use Godot. Like the first time I tried out Unreal Engine, you know, one of the things I enjoyed about Unreal Engine was the fact that you have already made, you know, scenes that you can just open up with characters. You can be able to play and play around, you know, break things and see how things work behind the scene. So those things were things I actually loved, you know, seeing. So that's the thing there. Okay, game multiplayer in Android 2, Android 1, host in Android 2. Okay, I didn't get the question. I didn't get that question. So if you mean multiplayer on Android, is it how to make a multiplayer game that you actually mean? I'm not getting that question properly. So my scene is actually loading, and as it's loading, I'm going to explain everything about the scene. So look at this, our Godot engine scene is very simple to work with. So over here we'll have the main menu. So if you have this place, you have scene, project, debug, edit, help. These are called the main menu. So that's your main menu. Then over here we'll have the workspace switching buttons. Okay, so you can work on 2D because Godot can work very well with 2D or 3D, or you want to work with your scripts, or this is your game screen. If you want to, you know, start doing things on your game screen, I'm going to talk about that later. Then we'll have the asset store like we saw before. So all the assets, your assets and your add-ons and different assets you're going to be using will actually be here. Okay, you can ask that question again. I didn't get your question very well. So now I have here this where you have your playtest, where you can play your game, you can stop your game, you can make a movie. All right, so those are advanced stuff you can be able to work with if you want to be able to make a movie of your game. So it's going to be playing the game in slow motion, so you can literally be able to create a sort of game-like or video-like, movie-like version of your gameplay, because that's the it's used for. So but that's a different thing. Over here we'll have the scene doc. Okay, so the scene doc is simply where you have your entire scene, all the nodes, because Godot have what we call nodes. I'm going to talk about nodes later. So but every node you're going to be using in your engine is actually located here. All right, so all your nodes. Run game. Okay, I'm going to do that. Once I'm done with what I'm doing, we are actually going, so just be patient. Okay, I'm going to be doing all these things you said, at least the ones that are possible here. I'm going to run a game. Okay, so if you want to run a game, you can just click here and you run the game, but there is no game currently in this particular scene. So over here I have my 2D scene. If you want to create a 2D scene or 3D scene, you can just click on it and automatically it will give you the basic node for that particular one. Or if you want to do UI, if that's your UI, like the count, if you pick up, you know, treasures and it counts for you. All right, those are the things you want to be able to, you know, count. So your UI, your game UI, or your user interface. Okay, this is what you actually use, you know, to put it, so that as you keep on moving, the UI remains where it is. Okay, if you use normal pictures or sprites on your scene, it will move immediately. You know, it will move out of the scene immediately you move your camera. So over here we'll have the import. So if you want to import things or re-import rather, so this particular part, if you want to import things on inside Godot, all right, you have to drag them literally on top of Godot. So let's say, for example, I want to get something from a folder. I'll click on it, hold, and drag into this particular file system down here, okay? And that's how you import. But when you import things and you want to re-import them, for example, if you import certain things and they're not working properly, let's say, for example, you import a character and the animation is not working properly, okay? You can be able to just click on that and go to that particular thing, and you see you have your import. You can re-import it, change some settings on it, and re-import it. So I'm going to run the game soon, okay? So just relax. So now over here I have my that's for your scene, and this for your re-importing thing here. Then over here I have my file system. The file system is everything that you're going to be using inside Godot engine. So all the files you're going to be using, your audio files, your game projects, make sure you're going to put them this is where you're going to see them. Now, one of the tips I give to people that I train, if you want to start doing this, the first thing you want to really be able to do is make sure you create a folder for everything. So if you are working on scripts, you create a folder for scripts, create a folder for your 3D models. In fact, when I use 3D models, I create a folder for the general 3D models and separate folders for each 3D model. So because once you put them inside Godot has a way of being able to tear them apart into your model, your textures, animation, and different other things that inside it. It becomes, so if you put all your 3D models in one folder, by the time you go there, you will be confused because you have overlapping all sorts of files. So make sure you create a folder for each of the 3D models or even a graphics, and then put all of them together inside another folder, a parent folder for all of them. So make sure you do that. Okay, export game Android, Linux, and Windows. Okay, those require a lot of settings, so but let's see what we can do. This is just more like a beginner tutorial, okay? So over here we'll have the history, so you can go back. So you look at here, I have my this is the beginning of what I did. So you can go back if you want to, or you can press Ctrl Z, alright, Ctrl Z to actually go back to where you are. So here is the viewport over here. So this is your viewport. So if I change this to 3D, so this is your viewport over here. And this is more like this is your bottom panel here. This under here, if you click here, you can have your bottom panel where you have additional things. So there are things you like, let's say for example you are doing animation, you will see the animation bottom, the panel for animation down here where you can do a lot of things using animation. Then here we'll have the tools. So it is your toolbar. So your toolbar contains all the tools you're going to be using, things like moving, rotating, scaling. I'm going to be using some of all these things when I start working on a game. So then over here you have Mesh 3D. We're going to talk about Mesh 3D when we talk about nodes. Then over here we'll have the tab. So you can create multiple scenes, okay? Each scene comes as a tab. So if you click on the plus sign here, you can actually create a new one. So but right now I've not even saved this one, so I can't even create a new one. So that's the reason why. But if you click on the plus sign, that's when you can create that. So that's the thing there for this side. So over here we'll have the inspector. Now whenever you're creating a game, whenever you select a node, maybe in the scene, or you select a particular item in your file system, you actually see that the inspector is more like the properties, where you can be able to see different properties about it. Maybe like here you see the load paths where it's actually coming from. So if you select maybe a node, you will see all the features, all the properties of that node. You can actually see it there, so you can be able to actually work with when we start coding, you can actually drag out. If you're using visual scripting, I will talk about coding later, and why you should use visual scripting and when you should use GD scripts. These are two different things. You have to know when to use them. So then we'll have the signals, okay? Character 3D, okay, no problem. So the signals is more like another panel where you get signals. So signals are just more like a type of function, but the difference is that they just trigger things. So you can have a signal for whenever a body is touched by another body. So it will just trigger a particular code. So that's the idea. So signals are more like triggers. I like calling them triggers because they are used to trigger a set of code, unlike functions that you tell them, you using compartmentalizing your codes, okay, or breaking down your codes. But you can be able to use signals to be able to trigger specific things at specific times. Okay, so now we have, so those are the major things you want to do. Then over here, if you click on this sign here, you see that I have groups. So groups are used for grouping things, okay? So let's say, for example, I have a group called player. So when I put that there, is usually used for categorizing a particular scene or a particular object so that it can be used in code. For example, I can tell a particular object, whenever a particular object touches you, check whether that particular object is in the group called player, then do this. Meaning that if it's not in that group player, then you should not do that. So those are the things you want to do. So that's the summary of everything here. So I think I've covered everything that you have to do with the scene itself. So that's, you can understand. So but when you start using this, just pay attention to just the scene here, the file system, and the inspector here, okay? And then also the bottom panel, you could be using this from time to time. So but the inspector, the scene, and the file system is what you'll be using much of the times. Collection, I have not heard about that. I don't know if you got the spelling right. So collection, is it collection or what that you mean there? So check the spelling and put it again if I didn't get that. Okay, so now I want to talk about nodes. Let me see what I have next. So definitely, if you want to import something, just drag that into here. I don't want to import right now, so it's gonna. Let me see if there is anything there. Okay, let's leave the importing for now. So but just know that when you want to import, just click on it on your file and just drag it inside this particular place and you import it. Okay, global. Yeah, you can have a global group. So the group is actually collection. Okay, that's your group. So you can be able to actually put your collection in. So it's seen by all the entire game, all right, or the entire game scene or game project. If you make that group to be global, but if you make it to be specific on a particular scene, that means it's only that scene that can see it. So we'll still have a use case scenario for that too. So over here, I like working with my 3D game. If you want me to work on 2D, I have a lot of 2D games I have worked on, even on a live. You can actually check my channel for them. That lava invasion was done in a live, so you can check it out. Over here, I'm going to just use my 3D scene, and over here I'm going to click on 3D scene. So this is how you can basically create your scene. All right, so once you click on this 3D scene, it's going to create a node 3D. So let's talk about nodes. So nodes are basically items or tools that are used that are the building blocks of your game. So each node that you're using already has some form of collection of features that you already have. So let's say, for example, you want to be able to create a character. There is a node called character body 3D that you can be able to use for your character. If you want to be able to do animation, there is a node called animation player that you can use for animation. So I'm going to be talking about some of all these things, and I'll be demonstrating the ones I can be able to demonstrate, because some of them are, it takes a bit of time to be able to understand them. So the ones I can do, I will do them. So over here you have this node 3D. So node 3D is specifically a basically empty node, just like a node. I usually use this as a placeholder. Placeholder means that it's just there to hold other nodes. So that's the thing. It doesn't really have much features. So if you actually go to the inspector, you see what I mean. So it just has a transform, meaning that you can move it around. So you can use to group things together. So that's the key thing you can use your Godot Node 3D to be able to do. So once you put this here, you can be able to also put other nodes around it. Now, Godot engine, everything you are building in Godot is actually in a sort of 3 formats. That's how they build it. So each node will have the parent. This is the parent node. Okay. Now, if you right click, you see things like add a child node. So I can have another child node under it. So if let's say for example now I want to create a character. If I want to create a character here, the node I'm going to use is my character body 3D. So when you talk about character body 3D, now let me show you something. You see, it says character body 3D is a specialized class for physics bodies that are meant to be user controlled. So your characters can be controlled and it can have, body physics, so that when you move towards a particular object that has collision on it, collision means that you don't want to pass through a wall. So when you put a collision on it, your character body 3D will be able to see that object and not pass through it. If you don't use that, it will actually just pass through it as if it's a spirit or something. So make sure you use, whenever you want a character that you're going to control by your player, all right, that's with your controls, make sure you use the character body 3D. It will do that. So we'll have characters. You can have multiple levels of nodes, multiple levels of nodes. So you can have character body node here, and you can have another node for another object, maybe another character or another enemy or whatever you want to use. You can have multiple, so they are more like a tree with different branches. That's how this works. So over here I can rename this. I can double click here and rename this. I'm going to call this my character, or let me call it player. I like calling it player. So right now you can rename it. So but even if you rename it and you now ask yourself, okay, how do I know this is actually a node 3D? Once you click on it, if you go to your inspector, you actually see node 3D up here. So you actually see the actual node that is used in that particular one. And if, for example, you don't want that particular one, you can simply right click and also do change type. So you can change it to another node. Let's say, for example, I want to change this to an area body 3D. You can change that to that. Okay, so I'm just going to go out from there. Now if you look at this now, the character body 3D is for body physics that controls the entire body. Now if I right click here, I can be able to add if you look at here, you see you have this. It's telling me that this node has no shape. All right, it doesn't have any shape, so it means it's shapeless. So you can't even see anything here. So what you need to put, like this guy said, I can't pronounce that name, FGG. I'll be calling FG. So like FG said, about mesh 3D. So that's mesh instance 3D. So I can add as a child, right click and add child, and I'm going to add a mesh instance. So mesh instance is used for adding objects, your primitives, like your circle, your text. You can even also use to add text. So if you are wondering how to add text inside Godot engine, mesh instance 3D is how you add that text. So I'm going to just put my mesh instance 3D right now here. Just click in there, and it's not going to tell me anything, all right, because I need to also add a third thing, okay, and that thing will be the collision shape. I'm coming to that collision shape, but I want to first give it a shape that I want the collision shape to be, because that will determine what my collision shape will actually be. So right now, what's my character going to be? If you click on this mesh instance now, it still has its own warning here. So go to your inspector and click on your mesh, and your mesh, you can use a box. So if you look at here, you have text down there if you want to add a text. So I'm going to be using a capsule. I love using capsule for this thing here. I didn't get that spelling. Road. I didn't get that spelling. FG, I didn't get that spelling of what you wrote there. So I'm going to put a capsule here. So if I put my capsule now, it's going to create a capsule for me. So more like the capsule for a tablet or something. So it's going to take a bit of time. And once it adds it, I can be able to, if you look at here, you have different things you can be able to add, like you have your geometry, your global illumination. These are just few things you can be able to actually add to your properties for that mesh instance 3D. So basically any shape you want to be able to create, you can do that. Now if you don't want to use this, you can actually use Blender to create your models and then import it inside your Godot engine. So but probably we will not do that for now, because this is just a beginner tutorial for those that are using Godot engine for the first time. So right now you see that the warning goes out, so because now I already have this here. So one of the things I like doing, so I'm going to click back on this, okay, character body 3D, and you need to add a collision shape. So the collision shape is another node. This node, you right click and add it, is used for describing the part of the mesh or the character that can collide with another object. So now if I type collision, so I have my collision shape here, I'm going to put that. So you see the warning for the character body 3D goes off. So this is now here. So it's asking me what kind of body, what's the body shape I'm going to be using for my player. So I'm going to just come up here to this place, click here, and I'm going to be using a capsule also. So if you want it to be a box, it all depends on the thing you're actually trying to achieve. So but I'm going to be using my capsule. So once I put my capsule, it's going to, if you look at now, because I use capsule, you see everything comes in together here, together here. So what I can do, I can just select these two guys and just I'm holding shift to select this, hold shift and select the second one, and then you can use your tool here for moving, and I can move it up to this place. So that's one of the things you can do. So right now I have my character with a mesh and a collision. So if you want this character to be able to have other things, you can do that. Okay, so now, but first let's save this character. So to save it, I can right click here and click on save scene. Okay, if you want to save it as a different scene, okay, you can use save as. That's if it has been saved before. So I'm going to just do save scene. Now, like I told you, it's good that you actually create different scenes for whatever you want to do, okay, or different folders. So I'm going to click on create new folder. So my new folder now, I'm going to call it my scenes and click OK. When I start writing script, I'll create a new folder called scripts. So the name here is player, so just leave that TSCM because that's a scene. So I'm going to click on save. So once I have this, now I have my player and it has different things. Now let's say, for example, we want this player to have some form of animation on it. Okay, so let's say one form of animation, like maybe we'll have a sort of a cap and it's going up and down as the player is there. All right, we could do that. So what I can do is I'm going to select this mesh instance and I'm going to duplicate it by pressing Ctrl D, and I'm going to rename this to cap, so you know the difference. Okay, with this my cap, I can use my scale here and just scale this down. Oh, okay, because they are the same. Now I like the fact that we actually have this experience now. If you duplicate a particular object, it will mimic that particular thing. So that means that if I do the same thing on it, both of them will be scaled at the same time, even though I'm selecting just a cap. So to be able to make it to be unique, what I will do is I will select that particular cap and I will go to my mesh. If you look at my inspector here, go under mesh and I can click here and I will say make unique. So if I click on make unique now, it's now a unique object on its own. So once I do that, I can be able to just come in and let me write something here I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm going to just come in here and just, once I make it unique, like I said, once it's made unique, I can come up here now and I can scale it down now. If you look at now, if I'm scaling down, it's not more affecting it. I can use this one to bring it up here. So let me just do something. I want it to be a bit bigger. So I want this to be bouncing on top of his head. So that's what I want it to be doing, like something like this. So now how do I do that? So I have detailed tutorials also you can watch on my channel. So but I'm going to be showing you how to do that here. Remember, we have not added material, so it's going to be giving us just a white plain material right now. So over here, I'm going to come in and I'm going to go to my player here. This is my player. I'll right click again and add an animation player node. So if you click on animation player, so this animation player node, this animation player node is for animating right inside Godot engine. So if you're using something like Blender, you can animate in Blender and export the animation with the object or the model into Godot engine. But if you want to animate it right inside Godot engine, you have to use animation player node. So I'm going to create that. So once I create it, okay, yeah, we're going to put controls when we write the code for UI left and UI. In fact, I think we're going to also try and put a control for it. Okay, that's a touch screen or something towards the higher part of this tutorial. So now I have my animation player. So the animation player is actually node for the animation, the proper animation itself. So that's what we want to be able to do right now. So I'm going to come in here, and if you look at here, you see I tell about the bottom panel. So if you click on the bottom panel, the animation will come up here, and you can click on animation here, and you have new animation. So you're going to give the animation a name. So if I click on new animation, so let's say for example my new animation is let's say for example I'm going to call this my cap bounce. I like to put underscore bounce and okay. So if I click on that, so once I do this, is going to this animation player is going to be animating whatever I want here. So yeah, and jump to those things will be done. So over here I'm going to click on what I really want to animate. So I want to animate the cap, so I'm going to click on the cap. I've already created an animation called cap bounce. So I'm going to click on the cap, and I'm going to go down to my transform in my inspector. Now if you look at here, there's something that looks like a key. You can literally be able to animate almost anything inside Godot engine. Anything that has this key means that there is a possibility of it being animated. It is that you can animate them once you know how to do the animation. In fact, you can program the animation if you know how to. So you can literally animate all these things. So now I'm going to click on my position, and I will remove this. I don't like using the reset here, so I'm just going to, if you want to use a bezier, you can use that. Bezier means that it's not going to be straight, it's going to just come slowly, understand? So you can use that if you want to, okay? But if you want it to just be a straight movement, you can literally just don't use the bezier on it. So I will not use it for now, so just click on create. It is an animation tutorial. So once I create it, it's going to create a keyframe here. So what we'll have here is a keyframe. So keyframe is like a representation of a memory. So it's just like this. When you animate things, we'll have let me just describe this to you so you understand what's really happening here. So this is your position for this cap that I've selected. So if you look at here, we'll have a cap, and that's the position for the cap. So this keyframe represents a memory, remembering the position of that particular point. Okay, plus 0.5. Okay, that's the position there. So if you have the position, it's going to remember that position. Whether if you move to another position later, it will remember whenever you come to that particular time. It will remember that particular position. So now your timing, if you have done animation before, you see that you have your timing here. You have different frames. So this is actually 1 second that you actually have here. So you can have 0.5 seconds for your next animation. So when you're doing animation inside this place, or you're doing animation generally, okay, you want to be able to animate, based on your loop. You have to create a loop for the animation. So it's going to have to be able to loop. So now I'm going to go to 0.5 if I want to, but if I want it to be a 2 seconds animation, I can just come over here and click here and press 2. That is how you make it a 2 seconds animation. You can increase the timing over here. If you don't want to use this again, you can simply come in here and delete it if you don't want to use it again. So over here, I'm going to, let me use 1 second now. This means animation will become slower, because the more the time, the slower the animation is. The shorter the time, the faster the animation will be. So now I'm going to go to my frame 1. In fact, I want to just type it in here, 1, and enter. So it's actually in frame, that's the first second, or the second one, or 1 second. So now I want to take this up a bit like that. So if I take it up, that's where I want it to be next. And then I'm going to click on this key again. So you look at what's happening now. So I have something like this. So I want to repeat this at the end so that it will form a loop, so that it's going to be smooth. Now you can come up here and start dragging it down, but sometimes it should not be accurate. So make it accurate. Simply just come up here, take your playhead, come up here, select this one and press Ctrl C to copy it. Take your playhead to the last frame and press Ctrl V, and to paste that actual frame, this one you started with. This is how you create a loop. So if you play now, you see that it goes up and down. Now it's slow, but we're going to make it fast later. So you have that. So right now is a straightforward animation. It cannot loop automatically. To make it loop automatically, yeah, that's the idle animation. We can use it as an idle animation. So we'll call it cap bounce. That's what we'll call it here. But it's also an idle animation that we can use. So over here, I'm going to click on animation loop to turn into an idle animation. So if I click on play now, you see that it's just going up and down. So this can serve like an idle animation for your player. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to just pause that. So that's how you can create animation. If you want to create a second animation, for example, maybe for some other thing, maybe it's for the character to grow or to become bigger or whatever you want to, you can simply be able to click on animation here and create a new animation. All right, so those are the things. You can even duplicate the one you have, so you can change a few things about it, or you can rename it if you don't want to use it again. So we have other things like inspector, open inspector, and there are a lot of things you can do to it, but I will stick to the basics because this is a beginner tutorial for those using Godot engine. So if you follow me, you can be able to actually get a hang of Godot engine, generally. So over here, I'm going to, now I've finished the animation. Now, for me to be able to literally use animation and, in a scene properly, I need a second node. And that node is called animation tree. So animation tree is basically a tree of animations connected together and manipulated using nodes. Okay, so that's animation tree node. So you need an animation player before you can use animation tree. Okay, so the animation tree is what utilizes the animation player node. So you can have multiple animation in one animation player. You can have different animations, animation for jumping, animation for attacking or whatever. But then the animation tree node is now what is going to create the state machines and different controls for how it is used. Animation works and all those stuff. Yeah, you can be able to do that. So if you have animation like a jump animation or walk animation or run animation, everything will be in the animation player node. For you to access them and use them, you need an animation tree node. So now I'm going to select the animation tree node and I'm going to go to my tree. If you look at here, I have my tree root in my inspector. So when I click on it, and I'm going to have different things here. So you have your state machine, you have your blend. There are different things you can use here. So it all depends on the kind of animation and how complex the animation you are using is. Okay, if you're using something much more complex, you're using things like state machine or blend 2D. All right, but the one I usually use for most of the things I do is the node blend tree. So it enables me to blend at least up to 3 different animations inside a particular scene. Okay, so I'm going to just select that, and once I select it, I'm going to just come up here and it's just showing me this. Okay, so it has an output. So this is what you're seeing now, but I'm going to go back now and it's asking me what animation player am I trying to use. So I will come up here and click on animation here and click on the animation player and click on OK. So this animation player is one here. You can rename it if you want to. You can call it character animations or whatever you want to call it. So, and then I will select it and I will click on open. OK. Now it has access to all the animations inside that particular one. So how do I do that? Once you open up the animation tree panel in the bottom panel here, you can click on animation node, and then you can click on animation here and look at this animation node here. For this your node for controlling your animations. So if you click here now, you can see you have your cap bounce. So once I click on my cap bounce, I can be able to use that cap bounce directly. So now what immediately I plug it to my output, you can see it's already working in this scene. You can see it now. Now I can be able to use it as my idle animation or whatever I want to do. Animate the game's free fire in bad. I don't get that question. I think you can have to reframe that question. So I will get, do you mean a particle system for explosion or something? Now I'm going to add another one. So let's say for example I want to slow down this animation or speed it up. I will click on this add node here and I'm going to go for my time scale. So if I get my time scale, I can just select this and put this here and put it over here. Now it is actually one to one. So but if I reduce this, watch what happens. It speeds up. All right, but let me just do 0.3, and you see I have a slower animation. If I do 1 point, okay, let me do 3 to speed it up 3 times. So 3 will speed it up 3 times. So I think 2 should be okay. Let me just do it 2. So something like this, that's what we actually have right now. So that's how you can be able to put animation. So I'm exploring different nodes. So all you need to do whenever you want to do a particular thing, just know the node you are using. That's what you really need to understand. What node am I actually using? Where do I need this particular node? So now, if you want to combine 2 multiple animation that you're going to use in your code, all right, you have to create a new animation. Like, let's go back and create a new animation. I'm going to click on animation here. In this animation here, in fact, you can click on animation play if you want to. It will turn back to the animation here. And I can click here and let's say, for example, I put on new, and I can call this my grow cap. So I want to expand the cap this time around. That's what I want to do. And then I can do my grow cap and I can click on OK. So it gives me a blank animation because I want to show you how to add a new animation that we can blend in with the other one too. So I can leave it at 1 second, and now in my frame 0 or the 0 second, I can simply come in here and just do something here. Let me just come up here and go to my cap again. I'm going to go back to my cap. I'm in my animation right now, so I can go to my transform. Let's go to transform. This time around, I'm going to be using my scale down here. So if I click on scale, and I can just use my create. So it's going to create this how it is right now. Then I'm going to go to 0.5. So in my 0.5, I'm going to scale it up. Let me just scale this guy up. Okay, and scale it. Oh, that's too much. Let's scale it on this axis. Yep, so that we have something like this now. So once I do that, I can be able to now go up here and click on my keyframe to keyframe it again. So if you look at now, it's going up and down. So go back to your frame 1 and I can select this, control. I always like putting my playhead on it before I copy it. Sometimes it misbehaves in some versions of Godot. So control V to paste it there. So right now you can see it grows and goes back. So make sure whenever you're doing this, you repeat the same frame you started with at the ending part. So that's how you can maintain that. So once you do that, I can be able to loop it too. So if you play now, you see what it's doing now. Now let's go back to our animation tree node. So once we go to animation tree node, if you look at now, if I click here and click on animation, so I have a second animation here now. Let me move this out. And then I have this here. So you see my grow cap comes into this place. Now I have 2 animations. I can put my grow cap, and if I want to blend these 2 so that I can be able to use them together, all right, maybe in my code, I'm going to add another node called the blend 2. If I want to blend 3 animations, I'll use blend 3. If I want to blend 2 animations, I'll use blend 2. Okay, so once I put my blend 2, I can plug this one now to the top. Let me expand this a bit. I'll take this and blend it to the top one here, and take this one and blend it to down here. So, and then I'm going to connect this here. So this means that in my 0 frame, there's this one on top, which is this one here now, the bounce. If the blend is in 0 value, it will be blending, but if I take it to 1, it will start growing, expanding. That's how we can be able to do that. So there are more advanced features you can be able to use. Okay, so just know, if I do something like 0.3, now see what will happen. It's blending the 2 of them into a very interesting action, whatever the action is. So it's blending both of them together in one action. So, but you can use them to switch animations. So this is just for blending animations together to create whatever you want. But if you want to exclusively use just the bounce, you can use this one directly here. So that's all you can be able to do. So now I can be able to just come in here, and I'm going to make sure I save my work. So that's my player here. So other nodes that we can be able to explore, I've talked about different nodes that we can be able to use. If you right click here, and also I can check out, let me show you some other nodes that are very important. So if you want to be able to do things like I think I made a video recently about that, the sub viewport. You want to use a security camera, you can use sub viewport for that. You can watch my channel for that. Then you have other ones like area body 3D. Now area body 3D, I'm not going to demonstrate in this place because it takes a bit of time to demonstrate what it's used for. So area body 3D is actually a node for detecting an object. So let's say, for example, you want to have a coin that can be collected. You're going to make that coin to be an area body 3D. So when you make it an area body 3D, it will have a collision. You're going to also add a collision to it and other things to it, okay? And then when your character touches it, the area body 3D has a signal that enables you to know when a body touches it, and you cannot be able to send a code, a signal that will enable you to delete it with your queue free, and then add a number to your counter, maybe your coin counter for number of coins you have been collecting. So I'm not going to go into that. Let's go into much more serious stuff. So now we want to go into materials. Let's talk about materials now. So we'll talk about other nodes. There are several nodes that we can talk about. If you want me to talk about a particular node, I think I've talked about nodes that was talked about here. So there are several other nodes you can be able to use depending on what you're doing. And as I'm working, I'll be talking about other nodes. Okay. So area body. So area body 3D is for coins. If you want to make a coin, okay, let's go ahead to actually do that. So I'm going to create a new scene here. I want to make a coin this time around, and it's going to be an area body 3D. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to a 3D scene. So I'm going to call this my coin. So I want to make a coin that will be collectible, that you can collect. Now I'm going to right click, and remember this is actually a node 3D. There's going to be the holder of the coin, okay? Then I'm going to right click and add an area body 3D. The area body 3D now is going to be a body that can detect when something touches it. Okay, that's the idea of area body 3D. Now for it, I'm going to also do the same thing, the mesh instance like I did before. So if I get my mesh instance, but this time around, because it's going to be a coin, I would like to use a cylinder mesh for this one. So when I use the cylinder mesh, I'm going to scale it down like this. I'm using this to scale it down. So we'll have something like that looks like this. And then for this animation area body 3D here, I can be able to right click on it again and type collision shape. So I add a collision shape to it, and I'm going to add a cylinder shape 3D. And look at that. Make sure when you're doing this, make sure you just snap it with this red one. So you can just bring it down like that and take this one up like that. So you have something like this. So it means that whenever a body touches it, it's going to collide with it. So then I'm going to just simply select this, and I would like to rotate it with my rotation. So you just rotate it to fit whatever you want it to fit in. So I have something like this. So if you want it to be accurate, you can just go down to your transform, and if you look at here, I have my -90. I can just type 90 there, and it will be straight. So if you look at here, if you select this, you see how the things are, and you can also use this and bring it up. So I'm going to select this area body 3D here, and use my move tool and just move it up. So you have that. So character body 3D, I've talked about that already for our player. This is a character body 3D, and you can use it for making characters. So I have this, and you can be able to use this as your coin. If you want to animate the coin, you can also still animate the coin using the animation player node like we did before. You can actually do like a bouncing animation. So probably we'll do much of all these things. So well, let's keep this simple so that those that are actually joining us for the first time can be able to follow. So I have the coin, and I'm going to just come in here, and in my scenes I'm going to save the coin. Now I'm going to go back to my player. So I want to be able to add some materials to this thing here. Okay, so my materials, I'm going to, when you add your material is just more like the shader or the texture that you're adding to your, or the color of your object, or your scenes. So you can do these things inside Blender, texture it in Blender, and import it inside Godot. But if you want to do inside Godot, you can still be able to do that. So there are some games I just do everything inside Godot engine. So I'm going to select the mesh instance here, the first one, which is actually the player itself. That's this main one down here, and I'm going to go to my inspector. In my inspector, I'm going to click here. So remember, we're doing materials now. So click here, it will open this mesh. Once it opens the mesh, you come down, you see you have your material here. It doesn't have a material by default. If it was an imported thing, you will see the material by default there. So I'm going to click on material here, and I'm going to be using my standard material. Now we also have the shader material, but this one requires coding and the other kinds of material, the ORM material 3D. So but the one I like using that is easy to work with for most people is the standard material 3D. So I'm going to click on that standard material, and I can be able to create basic material. If I use Blender, it's more like the principal shader, you could call it, not necessarily that it is, but it's more like that. So once you add it, you can be able to have different properties you can be able to change. So if you want to be able to change the color, add a normal map to it, and some other things. Now, I wouldn't advise that you add a normal map directly inside here. Sometimes the normal map, depending on the version you're using, I always had a bad experience with it personally. You just have issues with that. Okay, I didn't get what you just said now. Blue, what's that? Okay, I should make it blue. Okay, that's good. So if you look at here, the material has been added. So I'm going to click on this material here once. So if you click on it again, it snaps. So just click once and it opens. So over here we'll have transparency. So if you want to be able to do things like water material or your transparent material, you have your alpha and some other things you could do, and how you can be able to blend in other objects or other materials with it. So over here we also have the call mode, and this call mode is very important because when you are building some kind of object that, let's say for example, you want to build a box around an object, and the inside, if you actually enter into the inside the game, it will be open. Like from outside, it will be covered, like you can't see through it. But if you enter inside, you see that the coiling system is actually making it as if you can see through it. Okay, so you can come in here and flip it so that this is actually used for building games where you want to use a box to the inside will be the thing that will be showing that is an object around it. So it's a bit, so it has to be demonstrated. I can't explain that here. So but that's for more advanced stuff. But if you want to make things like that, just create a normal model that you can be able to use without using this thing here. So but by default it's in back, so just leave it like that. So to change this to a blue color, so I'm going to go down to my albedo. That's the one you want to use. So albedo, now I'm going to click on the color there, and I can just drag this down so you start seeing all the colors. So I can go for a blue color. Yep. So and then you want to make it darker, you can go down like that. So now I have my texture. If you have a texture you want to use, let's say for example I want to use a Godot texture, I can drag it and drop it inside here, and automatically you can see now it has the Godot texture on it, and it's even blending somehow with the blue. So if you change this to a red, you can see that it's blending together with that. So you can actually do something like that, so depending on what you want to do. So then we'll have the metallic. So if you want it to be more metallic, like it should look like a metallic object, you can just come in here and just do a metallic over here, and the more metallic it will go over here. So but there are some other things I need to turn on for it to be showing me exactly what I want to see. So but this is just random stuff, but you see that it becomes less shiny and a bit much dark, for instance. So you can just bring it up. Now if you want it to be very shiny, okay, or not shiny at all, to be 1 for the roughness, but if you want it to be very shiny, you bring it down to this point here. So if you come close, you can't see very well because we have to turn on some other things. So I'm going to go down and just jump down to this place and go and turn on my refraction here. So refraction is usually used for glass materials and reflective materials, so you can be able to actually use that. So if you want to create a reflective material like a glass material, you can be able to use that there. Okay, then that's for your refraction. So that some other things we can turn on to make sure that if you have a glass material, it's going to be reflecting properly. I have a glass material tutorial on my channel. You can actually go watch it. I have that in more details. So once you put it on, okay, you see that it's much more pronounced now, that you can be able to, but you won't see everything really from here because even our environment is not properly fine-tuned. So if you look at now, you see I can see through it somehow. All right, so that's just the thing you want to know. But this basically works for glass materials. That's what it's usually used for. When you turn on your glass material, it's not working, just come up here and turn on the refraction and your glass material will start being a see-through. So now if you want to do emission, let's say for example you want it to glow, let's say for example you want a glowing material, you can use the emission over here to do that. So that's for your material. So let me just leave the materials, that's for everything here. So let me just go to my cap and let's make the cap, let's give the cap its own material, and then open up to my standard material here and just click here on the material, and I'm going to go down and I'm going to also make it a new cap. So we'll have something like this, a very simple stuff. So we can be able to make it also to be roughness like that. So if you look at roughness, make it a bit more shiny. That's the thing we can be able to do. So the next thing we want to be able to create is, now let's save this and make sure it's saved. So let me also add a material to my coin to make sure it's actually working very fine. So select your mesh instance for your coin and just click up here and just click in the center here. It will open this up. Come down and you have your material down there. I'm going to click on the material there and click on the center of the material there, and now I can change the albedo to a yellow kind of material because I want it to look like a golden material. So I'm going to bring this up, go back to yellow, and then I'm going to go to my metallic, just bring it up a bit, and then my roughness will be down to make it shiny. So if you look at now, it's more shiny. Okay, I'm going to save this. So right now, this is basically how you can work with your nodes. Now some other features you want to be able to know is we're going to be talking about add-ons shortly, but before we talk about these add-ons, okay, I want to also talk about another node which is very important, the timer node. Okay, so we'll have a timer node. So the timer node is actually used for checking out your time. Okay, so you can just put that there and you put your timer. So if you want to be able to make it to be able to do something after a particular time, you can use a timer node for that. So this is just for, I usually use this when I want to do like a spawning. Maybe I want to spawn a character after a particular time or at a random time. You can use a timer node for that. So, but I will be implementing that when I do more advanced stuff. It will require some coding for us to do that, but we can use it. So I'm just going to add it inside the timer here, so you actually see what it looks like. So if I add this in my coin, if you look at here, wait time is in 1 second. So you can make it to be 2 seconds. You can even use code to make it to be, different timing. So you can make it to just play once, or you can make it to be auto start. So your starts on its own. You won't be the one to tell it to start. But if you go to your signal, when you start coding, timeout. So immediately it times out. After 2 seconds, it will do a particular thing. Maybe to spawn the coin again, or it will do a particular thing. Those are the things or you want it to animate after a particular time. You can use the timer for that. So we're not doing coding yet, so we'll just leave that for the meantime. So I think that's the major thing. We'll talk about materials already. So now let's talk about some other features, hidden features of Godot engine that are very, very important. So first thing here, if you go to your game, you see that you have things like this game. So but before we can demonstrate this, we need to add a few things to see what these games are actually used for. So now that might slow down my display when I start testing the game. Okay, so but first let me just come back here and let's do some few things before we actually go into testing that. So this is just like a place where we can be able to edit how our game experience, how we're testing our game. We can select something inside the game. I think this is one of the most important thing that was done inside the new version of Godot. That's the 4 points, I think from 4.5, where you can be able to play a game and even be able to edit things in the 3D scene as you are walking, as you are playing the game directly. So now one of the few things that I love very much here is a new feature that is actually that was added, and this feature is very important. So imagine you want to code. Okay, we're going to talk about coding later. Now if you want to be able to make this character be able to move, but you don't want the stress of coming to write the code yourself, Godot has an inbuilt code for making characters to move even without putting that. We're going to be doing add-ons and we're going to be testing out different things. So I'm going to right click here and just add sorry, not a child. I'm going to right click and add a script. So when I add my script, it's going to be a GD script. That's what we're going to be using now. But this GD script is already made. We don't have to write a code. We don't have to write a single line of code in this particular scenario here. So, but make sure that when you're right clicking and adding the code, make sure you add it on a character body 3D. If you add it on another node, it's not going to work. So you have to make sure you add it on a character body 3D node or 2D node. Okay, character body 2D if you are doing 2D games. So make sure it's GD scripts, okay? And then make sure here this is what it should be. Now go your template, look at your template. If I click on my template, if I check the box, I can open here and I have a basic movement. So someone was asking about jump and UI left and UI right. You can be able to add the thing directly here without actually moving a muscle. So once I put it there, I can now choose the path. Now, like I told you before, when you want to create your things, make sure you group everything in its own folder. So I'm in my scene currently, so I'm going to use this to go back. Image Godot in character. I didn't get that question. The last question, FG, I didn't understand that question that you actually gave, the last question there. So I'm going to click here and create a node folder. A new folder is going to call scripts. And I'm going to click on OK and I'm going to have that there. And now I have this. So I'm going to change this to my player. So I'm going to call this player temp code. That's what I'm going to call this. So because I'm going to have other things I'm going to be building later. So I'm going to open this. So this is the player temp code and I can click on create and automatically it's going to create that code for me. So it comes with its own code. You see the UI left, UI right, like we're asking for. So all the codes are already here that we can be able to actually use. You can just save it. And now you can't test it until you create a game. So for us to be able to create a scene, we can create a flat surface, but I want us to go into the asset store, okay? Before we even talk about other features like the game thing, all right? So let's go into the asset store. So here we can be able to download different add-ons. So I'm going to be talking about different add-ons that I personally try to use or I love using that makes my work a bit easy, when I'm working on them, all right? So I'm going to be talking about those add-ons. The first add-on I usually use, because I want to be able to create a scene where this player will be on the floor and you can move around, okay, and you can be able to pick up things. Yeah, joystick, we'll talk about joystick later when we finish putting our controls and the environment. So I have my asset store, so that's where I am right now. So I'm going to go for terrain 3D. So that's one of the add-ons I usually use most time when I'm doing open world games. I use terrain 3D. Now another option, if you don't want to use terrain 3D, you can go to Blender and create your own terrain and bring it inside Godot engine. You can do that. So but the good part about terrain 3D is that it has almost every single thing you need right inside the engine, like inside your Godot engine. So you can sculpt, you can paint, you can do almost anything. I have a very detailed tutorial on that. I'll also be doing an updated version of it very soon, but with this live you can be able to get almost every single thing, but I'm trying to make sure that I don't go too far so that those who are joining us for the first time will not get lost. So I'm going to come down, and if you look at here, I have my terrain 3D. Just type 3D there. So you have different terrains. There are ones I've tried out, and some of them are not so cool. So some of them are difficult to work with. Some of them work only, I think this one works only in C# version of Godot. So that's the terrain 3D there by Tokinson Games. So that's the guy that created it. So I'll be using two of its add-ons. I know they are very, very useful. So if you click on this, so if you look at here, it will tell you a high performance editable terrain. This, I think, is the latest version of it. Okay, so if you look at the kind of terrains you can be able to build, you can even add grasses to it. So now I can be able to download it. So if you look at here, let me just show you something. This is 4.4. I think they have removed the older versions that are here. There are other versions that actually they used to be here. So I'm just going to click on download. Now, when you're using Terrain 3D, it has a lot of features. You can be able to put your grasses inside it. So, but for you to put your grasses, you literally have to build another model from outside. Okay. So, but I will check if there are models that come with the demo here, and I will use them for creating grasses. So you can be able to create grasses and be able to add them into your scene. So you can create a very, very robust scene. In fact, the demo that it comes with, if you go through the file, I can't open the demo here, it's to take time to actually open up. So you can be able to download that, and if you open it, you see that it has a very massive environment that you can be able to do. So that's one of the things I love about Terrain 3D. So when you're making an open world game, Terrain 3D is one of the best ones you can be able to use. So once you come in, it has finished downloading. I can just do my add-on. So you look at the demo I'm talking about here. So if you look at the demo, it comes with a demo that you can be able to use. You see different assets. So my materials, my models. Okay, I have rocks, so I can use some of all these things in my work. Okay, so I have these here. So now make sure it's on add-ons. Okay, so I can just click on install. So it installs it for me. So once it finishes installing it, you can now go into start creating. So if you're using Godot for the first time and you want to create an open world game, you can start with this. It makes the work easy for you. Instead of going to Blender, let's say for example, you don't want to go and start creating different things inside Blender before bringing it in here. You can literally use this. Okay. So when I'm talking about Blender for today, I have a tutorial on how to import from Blender, so you can go check it out too. So once you're done with that, let me see if my thing has been added. Let me try and see where it is. It should okay, it's still installing it. So you have to give it time to install. Depending on how fast your system is, it will just install everything. So it's successful, but it hasn't finished installing. So depending on the speed of your system, it will install all the assets that it needs, because it needs a lot of assets. It comes with a lot of assets, about 40 MB that I have here. So you just allow it to install, and once it's done installing, you can be able to sculpt different kinds of things, anything you want to be able to do. You want to make a hole. In fact, you can actually create a hole inside this particular using this particular add-on. So those are the things you could do with it. So this will keep on doing that until it's done. So let me see. So it's going to take a bit of time because it's actually trying to load a very serious scene. So you just have to wait a bit for it. So in some of other things here, we're going to also be using the Sky 3D. Okay, the Sky 3D is also by the same creator. We're going to be using it to actually add our sky texture or our sky to our game. Okay, so add our sky, and we can be able to actually use it to create some realistic environments for our game. So when we do that, it can be able to create very realistic stuff. You can add grasses and other stuff. So let me just see. This is a bit slow, so let me see what we'll have. It's going to be taking a bit of time. So now the reason it's taking time, let me just tell you that, is because my laptop doesn't really have a graphics card. The laptop I'm using currently doesn't have a graphics card. So this is basically for indie game development. All right, so you could literally be able to have a faster download if you're using a higher version of the laptop. So just bear that in mind. When you're actually watching this video, you can skip through this particular part. So but if you're on the live, just be patient. Is going to finish loading in a couple of seconds or thereabouts. Okay, so I think it's almost done, so I'm just going to wait for it. So this is hanging a bit because of what is required to be able to actually work. Okay, so I need to see, it's still downloading, so it's coming with a lot of things. So at the end, I have my OK right now, so it's uninstalling. I hope the next one will not do that. Okay, so I'm going to just close this and let's use this one first before we go to the next add-on. So I'm going to go to my projects file now and go to my project setting. And my project setting, I'm going to go to my plugins, and you can see your Terrain 3D there. You can click on it and to activate it. If you don't activate it, you will not be able to use it. So I'm going to close now, and I'm going to go to my 3D scene. Now I'm going to click on a new scene. I want to create a blank scene. That's what I'm going to be using now. And that blank scene, I'm going to create a new 3D scene. That's what I'll be using. And I'm going to right click now and just add a child, and I'm going to call this my terrain. So for my terrain, if I click on terrain now, this is my terrain 3D. It's going to create a terrain for me that I'm going to be using. So you wait for it. These things are heavy, so they're quite light though, but it's heavy for my laptop. So I'm just going to just wait for it to actually open up. So once it creates this for us, it's going to have a very vast thing. So now the thing you need to know about this is that whenever you create a terrain, you need to select the terrains. Like you have to select the paths you want to be able to use, because it's very vast and you have to select them to be able to make them collidable. If you just put them there and you start using them automatically, they don't usually have what's it called again? They don't usually have collision by default. Like let's say for example, look at this now. If I drop a card up here, it will just fall off automatically. So I need to be able to add some collision to it. To add it, so here we'll have the tools for our terrain. Look at, we'll have different tools here. We'll have the raise, we'll have the add region. The add region is what I'm going to be using. So if I use my add region now, if I click here 1, 2, 3, and 4, it means this place is collidable. You understand? So it means that if I drop a character here, it will be moving around here. Once it passes here, most times it will just fall off. Here is not collidable. So if you want more, you can just keep on adding your regions, okay, that you want it to be able to collide. This is a very huge region that you actually see here, very huge. When you actually come close, you see how huge it is. So look at now, you see it's a very vast world. So it's very, very vast. Someone asked me if it's infinite. It's actually not infinite. I think it's very vast. You can actually increase it if you want to. There's a way to increase it, okay, so but I won't be talking about that. So you see region size, you can actually increase it to 2048 or something, all right, but right now it's 256, so it's not so big. But if you increase it more, you actually need your laptop to be able to actually carry that particular thing. So we'll have that. Now over here we'll have the raise. So if I click on my raise, but before I do this, I'm seeing a warning here. The warning is telling me there is something I need to do. So I'm going to click on this point. You see that it's telling me is the data directory specified. No data directory is specified. So I'm going to specify the data directory because it's going to be saving this thing here. So I'm going to come up, make sure you're selecting this, come up to your terrain inspector, and I'm going to go to my data directory here and click up here. And I'm going to create a new scene, a new folder, okay, under my res file, and I'm going to call it my terrain. So this is just a place where you can save terrain so you can reuse it. That's what it's used for. So I can just select that terrain there. Automatically it's going to go off immediately. Another thing you could do, if you want to save the materials and assets you're going to be using, just click here and just do save, okay, and go to your terrain and save that particular material that you're using for that particular scene, and also do the same thing for assets that you're going to be using, save, and it will just come in here and you can save that, so you can do that. So now I have this here and I can be able to start working. So the first tool I have here is my raise. So you can use the raise to begin to raise your, let me just come close so you can see what is really happening. So you can actually see how it's raising it. So once you click on that, you can go Ctrl Z to go back. I can raise. Now if you come up here, you see the size. Look at the options here. Okay, the properties of any tool you select. So if you select this tool, you see there is nothing here. All right. So if you want to remove the thing you have done, hold Control and you can remove it. All right. So but I would advise you not to be doing that. It can be very it can do something that you don't like. So I have this, my raise. That's the raise here. Sorry, let me add that again. Go to my raise here. So if you look at here, this is the size of the raise. So I can increase the size. It becomes bigger. It's actually a bit bigger. I can reduce the size of the raise and it becomes a bit smaller. So for me to appreciate this, let me add my character here so you see how big this really is. So let me save this terrain. I'm going to right click and I'm going to do Ctrl Z to save it. Go to my scenes and I'm going to call this my level 1. Let's call this level 1 underscore 1. So you can actually make your terrain to be a different scene on its own if you want to, but for me I want to be able to make that level 1 because we're already trying to create a game that we can play here. So I can just come down here and go to my player. Now before I bring in my player into this place, I need to add one more node called the camera node. So if I right click now, I will select this my character body 3D and add a camera to it. That's the one I want to add because this one is the one that is moving. So I want when it's moving, the camera will follow in it. So we have other cameras we can be able to use. I will be showing that later. So but let's add a normal camera to it. So this is the camera that we're using currently. And I can just, that's a camera. Let me go to this place and see what the camera is saying. So this is what a camera looks like. So I can just drag this back like this and take it up to this place. So it's just seeing this. So you can save it. Now let's go back to your level 1 and I can select this character. Let's go to level 1. Wait for level 1 there to come up. So once you go to level 1, we're going to import the character scene into this particular place. So once we import it, we can be able to use it for whatever we want to. So it's taking a bit of time. Okay, so I have this, so I can select this. I can rename this to level 1. So I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to add instantiate a child node. I want to instantiate a child that has another scene I've used before. So I can just put that there and just type my player. Look at my player there. So look at the player now. If you see the player and how big these mountains are, all right, so that I just want you to see the difference there. So let's go back to our terrain and start using this to build mountains around him so you can have something like this. If you want to increase the strength of the effect of this thing, so you can make it, you see it's becoming thicker. Like when he's building those mountains, he's going to be making it stronger. So that's what you can be able to use. Another one we have is the smooth. So if it's too sharp, you can smoothen it. So that's what you can use to remove the bumpiness. So you can, if it's too steep, you can actually use the smooth to smoothen it out. Then you have heights. So this one is for making sporadic heights, like just long heights. In fact, you can be able to just keep doing it and you have something like that. Let me just go back a bit and take it a bit far to somewhere there. So you can have this and use it to actually create very interesting heights. So you see the strength of the height and the height itself. You can increase the height if you want to even be longer. So you have something like this. Look at how long that is. So you can just do something like that. So whatever that is to you, all right. So but I won't want to do too much of it now. So the next thing I want to do is we'll have a slope. You can also use a slope that will actually create a slope for, so it makes it easy for you to actually go down that particular land. So it has to be very big for the slope to actually work very well. So you can just slope it down like that. So once we're done with that, we'll have other things like paint texture. So you can paint your texture. So now if you come in here, if you look at what we'll have different kinds of paints that you can be able to use. So you have like this one. Now I can select this terrain. So but I don't have anything on it. So to be able to do that, you have to come down to this your terrain 3D here, this bottom panel here for your terrain 3D. And I have my terrain here, so I can be able to click on the plus sign here, and I want to be able to add a texture. Now the texture I'll be using is very important, because if you use the wrong texture, it's going to look bizarre, looking at your scene. So you need to do some kind of re-importing on the terrain, okay, on the texture. You have to do some re-importing on it, okay. So but first we want to create a simple texture, and you're going to turn into a minimap. There are some settings you're going to do on it to be able to do that. So we can be able to use this texture to be able to, like for example, now you are seeing that the scene just has checkerboards or as the floor. We don't want that. We want to have, let's say, a sort of ground texture that looks like a mountain, like a sort of grass kind of floor, or a desert kind of floor, maybe brown floor or something. So we can be able to actually do that. So I'm having this. So I'm having a lot of issues with the speed of my laptop, so you can support me my IO account so that we can get a bigger laptop to run all these things. So thank you for all those who have been supporting so far. So we're hoping to see more of you there. Okay, so it's still taking a bit of time. So as it's taking this time, let's talk about other things. So under here we'll have the mesh. So if you want to be able to walk, let's say for example, you want to put grasses. You understand? This way you do that. So you can have a mesh. The mesh would be like you have a grass. It would be like a 3D model, like a GLB file, and you can be able to use it under the mesh here. So our data has opened. So let's go into that and use it. So if you look at now, it's using this particular one. So we need to use that. So I was open that. So we'll have the albedo here. That's the one it's using. So let me go into my demo and see that there are different textures it came with. I want to see if it came with some textures. Open the assets. Oh, we have some textures here. So we'll have the ground texture, and then we'll have the ground. This is the normal map. The blue one is the normal map that it's using. So I can be able to get this ground texture, drag it into this albedo here, and automatically it's going to change the ground. Look at that. It came with a demo. Okay, so we'll have something like this. So, and the normal, if you're not sure is the right normal, you can just grab it and just go and drop it there, and it will just make it much more realistic. So with that, okay, so then we can be able to just come in and create a second one. So I think you can add more, you can paint with other ones. So but the last time I checked, it was always crashing it, and I tried to do that. So but I won't try it for now. Let me just finish with this. So now I'm going to get my rock texture. For this second one, I created the plus sign. I've created this one. So I'll get my rock texture and I will drag it into this albedo for this one, and then get the normals and add it to this one. So now, but before I do that, I'm going to select this and show you something. If you select this and go to imports, if you're using this for the first time, I think they have already done this because this came with the add-on. You have to go over here and change this to this VRAM compressed, and change this here to minimap. Check this box and re-import. If you're using your own texture, make sure you do those two things. Change here, all right, to VRAM compressed, and change this to minimap. If you don't do this, your texture will look odd when you put it on display. If you use a normal texture and in this place, it will look strange. So make sure you do that. It will not look good. Okay, that's my point there. So I have this now. So if you look at now, I can use this my paint texture to paint this one. Now see, if I select this, I will right click to select it, and I can paint that there. Okay, if you select this one and right click now, I can use this one to repaint back again on it. So you can literally be able to click. If I think you can click and just select it. So we'll have something like that looks like this on it. And if you look at the size, you can change the sizes. And if you click here, you can change, how it appears. Let's say, for example, I want to use a terrain like this. So you look at what he's doing. He's using that style for that. If you want to increase the size, you can increase the size to whatever you want it to be. So now I have something that looks like that. So the next thing I want to be able to add, I want to add a mesh. So I'm going to click on my mesh. I hope this will not take much time. So if you look at here, I have my mesh here already. So if you click here and you start, I'm going to use the mesh soon. So if you come up here, you see spray texture. That's the next one now. If you click on spray texture, it will enable you to spray textures on your displays. Okay, so you can do spray texture. So let me just go to my mesh, and I'm using my spray. Sorry, not spray texture. Where is it again? No, not spray texture. Let me go down here. Okay, look, what I'm looking for is this instance mesh. That's what I'm looking for. So select instance mesh. Okay, so you can instantiate a mesh inside this place. So if you click on it, you see that it came with a grass mesh by default. Look at that grass mesh. So you can Ctrl Z to remove it. This one that is here. So, but you can create your own. You can click on plus and create a new one. All right. So I'm going to delete this one. Let me save this and make sure this is actually okay. So I want to use this. So if you look at here, the scene file is asking me what the scene file is going to be using for this. So let me see the assets that I can be able to use. I have my models. So this is coming with the demo. So I'm using exactly the things I'm having in the demo. So I have rocks and I have crystals. And if you want to preview a model, you can simply let me see if you can double click and preview. Okay, you just open it up for us. So okay, let me see rock 1. Double click on the rock if it's a model so you can see what it looks like. So I'm going to use this. This is actually a GLB file. I can use a GLB file. You can also use a scene. So I'm going to be using a scene this time around. So just select this, right click on it to select it, and I'm going to use the rock TSC, and that's the scene itself, the scene file for that rock. This is the model itself, that the GLB file format. So you can open it and save it as a scene. So you can just get it like this, open it as a new inherited. Okay, let's do that. So I'm going to just open that as a new inherited. It comes in like this. Okay, so in that place you see it comes in with this particular thing, and I can open it up in the editor, open anyway, so I have access to the rock itself. Let me see, the thing is telling me it doesn't have a collision, so I think it has a static body, so that's the reason why it's doing that. So you can add a collision to it. So this, if you want it to collide with an object, that's when you use that. Okay, so and you need to, because you don't want the car to be passing through it. So I can just use let me use a box for it. So it's quite huge actually. So or rather, let me use a sphere for it. And then also the rock, I'm going to scale it down a bit from here, so it's going to be a bit smaller. And then this one here. So let's save this. Now if you save, you see what it's going to be giving to you. So you can't save it, so you have a right click and save it, because it's coming from a GLB file. So I'm going to save it as a scene, and I'm going to save it in my scenes. I'm going to call this my rock edit. I'm going to call it my rock edit, and it's a scene right now. I'm going to save this, so I'm going to be using this. Let me quickly add a color to it. So click here and add some color to it. So my surface already came with color, a particular material, but I'm going to edit the material by clicking here and go to my albedo, and I'm going to be getting my texture here. So you can, these are things that you can import. So I can use my rock and just drop it inside here, and you will have a more realistic rock right now. Look at that. So make sure you just save it now, and once you save it, you can go to your level 1. In my level 1 right now, I can just come into my terrain 3D after selecting it, right click to select this particular one so it's active, and I'm going to go down to where I have my scenes, and this is my rock. I can drag in my rock into this particular scene file, and bam. So right now, if I use my instance mesh and just if I use my instance mesh right now, let's use that and just click, you see my rocks. Look at my rocks there. Let me go somewhere a bit plain. So I have my rock there, so you can just put in your rocks in different places. So these rocks can, you know, collide with an object. This could be a tree. If you use a tree, maybe a low poly mesh tree, you can be able to actually have it, you know, in your scene. If you want it to be larger, all right, so let me see how it looks over here. So you look at now, you see something like this. It's quite you know, interesting. Let me right click on this and show you something. So if you look at here, I have the height offset, so you can leave it at that. Okay, so we'll have this is already turned on by default, so it means that if I go too far, it will disappear. So level of detail is already active on it, so it makes my scene to load, you know, even faster. So we'll have, you know, that there. So we'll have the high density. If you increase density and you create, this will actually increase. I think this should be able to increase. Let me increase it even more so you see the impact. So you see that you have more of the rocks. So, but just be careful when you're doing something like this. Look at that. Okay, you see it's actually increasing it, and it will just give you more. So if you want to have more of it, you know, you do that. If you want to have a bigger rock, make sure you go to the model and increase the model size. So I don't think there is a way of being able to increase the size from here, but I think it should be possible probably in subsequent ones that will be created. So if you look at here, if I just come in here now, you can see I'm trying to get my character. Where's my character? Let me see, get it. So from the view of the character, you see this is the scene you're actually looking at. So I'm going to save this. So now we want the scene to look more, you know, interesting. So we are working with Godot 4.7. I'm showing you all the add-ons you need to be able to make your scene to look very interesting. So there's another add-on we're going to be able to add. It's called Sky 3D. So I'm going to go to my asset lib and I'm going to do my Sky 3D. Let me see if that's it. Sky 3D by Toki-san Games. You can check his YouTube channel. He makes a lot of videos on this too. So I'm going to click on that and get that. So this will be used to create a day and night cycle. So it's, you know, you have a day and night cycle in it, and it creates a realistic lighting system for you. So I can just click on that and allow it to download it. So you can either use this, you can also use your own normal light scene, you know, in your scene. If you want to put your light scene, you can be able to actually, you know, put your light node, right, your lamps. So right now, if you look at here, I have my add-on. So everything is going to be add-on. It comes with its own demo too. So this is one of the things that could actually, let me see if there's a way to exempt a file. I don't think there's a way to exempt a file. I would have wanted to not download this demo. So, but let me just go on to download. So it's going to be installing in my add-ons. So we just put it on there. So once it's done downloading, okay, it starts importing all the assets that are required. And it will take a bit of time once it's doing it for the first time. So just wait for it and allow it to finish up. So this add-on is very, very easy to actually work with. So let me just do this and bring it back. Okay, so click OK. This one is not too big like the first one. So just click OK. It's still loading. Installed. Alright, so click OK and let's go back to our 3D scene. Now I'm going to go to my level 1, the parent node, and right click, and I'm going to add okay, sorry, before you do that, make sure you go to your project settings, go to your project settings, and then you go to your plugin. You see the Sky 3D is on here. You just click on it and then you can just close. So once you turn it on, now you can right click here and add child node. And you can type sky. So it's asking you what do you want to add. You can add a sky dome, or you can add a sky complete, you know, the whole thing. So if I use my sky and create a sky texture, and it will add a lot of realism to my work. So make sure you have a good system that can be able to run this, and it's going to load it, and it's going to give you a sky that is moving, that is, has the night and day cycle, and a lot of features that you can be able to actually put. You can also be able to turn off the night and day cycle if you don't want it, because there are some games you don't want the night and day cycle on, so you can be able to actually use that. So you have to wait for it a bit to load everything. And look at that wonderful looking sky. I just love this sky. So it looks like a very realistic game, and we're going to be doing a lot of stuff with this. So we'll have something that looks, very interesting like that. Okay, so we have this, and let me just come a bit close to it. So we'll have something like this. So it added the sunlight for me. So if you look at my sun, you can actually use this. So inside your scenes here, you can turn off these things. If you want to see the effect of a particular thing, you can turn them off. So but I think it has been programmed, so you can't even do it from here. So we can just leave that for now. Let's just leave that for now. It's programmed with code. That's the reason why I cannot even access it. So you have here in the bunch here, you have your sky. So the sky is you can disable it if you want to. The cloud itself, and the cloud is actually moving. If you look at the clouds, they're actually moving. If you look at them very well. So this is your timing. So you have your editor here, your game time. You can come up here and turn them off. You understand? If you don't want to use them. So you have your game dates and the game time. Look at the game time. It's actually 10 o'clock by this time. So it's actually going very fast. So you can be able to use that there. So we'll have the lighting and exposure. You can actually be able to actually do some other settings here. You can bring it down. So by default is 1.0. You can change this to 0. Let's say 5. If you want the scene to be a bit darker, if you want it, that's what you're actually looking for whatever reason you want to do that. So I would like to make it about 0.7, so it's a bit bright but not so bright. If you want to add your own light, you can right click and add your own. I think that should be light. So we have different kind of lights node. We have area light, which just shines towards a particular direction in more like a sort of rectangular or focused lights, like as if you're having a sort of ring light shining in a particular direction. Directional light is like the sun, so it works like the sun. It's a global kind of lighting, while the omni light is in one place but it shines around everything around it, and then the spotlight is for shine on a particular spot. So if you want to use any of them, you can put that there. So let's say for example I want to use an omni light. I'll put an omni light, and if I drop it in the center here now, I want you to see what it's going to really be able to do in this particular scene. Once you add it, you can define how far and the color of the lights. Those are things you want to do. So if you want a room you enter into, the room will be, let's say, red in color. You can use a light to be able to actually change the color of the room. You just put a light there. Probably you add a fluorescent bulb or something, you can be able to actually come in there and use the light to be able to actually do that. So I have this now, so let me use this to move it up a bit like this. So if you look at the light, it's showing down here. So if you open up the options, you can be able to see the color of the light and the energy. You can increase the energy. Look at that energy there. You can increase the range of how far the light goes. Look at that. So I can reduce energy a bit more. I can change the color to, let's say, a red color if I want to do that. So because the environment is bright, you won't appreciate this properly. Okay, so but that's just for that. So the other thing you want to turn on is your shadow. So the shadow will enable you to be able to make it to cast a shadow. So but just know that the more the shadows you actually cast with different lights, the longer it's going to take to make it to really calculate the things, and it can slow down your system when you're actually working. So you can actually turn it on if you want to. So but by default, the sky dome and its lights, this sunlight that you see here and the moonlight and everything that's coming in from here, they already have the shadow. So if you look down here, you see that they already have a shadow by default, even without us turning on this one. We're trying to turn on now. It's actually taking a bit of time. So most time when you are trying to do something, okay, look at that. So you see the lights just did some kind of effect on this particular scene. So if you want to use that, good. If you don't want to, you can just turn it off. So but for this omni light, I'm going to just leave it to be there. I'm not really going to be using it, so I'm just going to save it. Let me see if my shadows are working fine for this one there, and I would like to increase this to about 0.8. It's getting okay. The reason why it's getting dark is because of our night and day cycle. Let me see if I can turn this night and day cycle off. I don't need it for this particular one, right? So you see the time of the day, so the current time, and that you have that there. So this is your game time enabled. So let me just go to this place, my sky, and go over here to my game time and just remove this things here. This is the current time. You can push it back like this, so you see the time now. Once you turn off this, it will not be doing automatically. So I've turned to the time, so you see different timing. So if you want it to be in the night, by default you can do that there. So but if you want to use a particular timing, you can just use a particular time and turn it off in the editor's time here. So it's hanging because I did something interesting there. Okay, so that's how you can be able to actually use this sky texture. So another add-on, let me just push this. Okay, I think I want it to be somewhere there. Okay, I think I like this timing now, so let's save this. So another one we can be using is the third-person controller. We want to put a character. Now this character by default will be able to play around, okay? So but if you don't want to use this, we can use another character, all right, the third-person player. So but let me see if we can be able to play this one before we start using the new character. So we're going to be using a character that comes with an add-on, all right? So it's asking me now, okay, I've not saved this. Sorry, I need to close these ones that I use in creating the rock. So let's close that out. And this one has been saved already. So select your level 1, make sure everything is saved. You can play from here by clicking on the play here and selecting the current scene. So that means that by completely it will always be using that one. If you don't want to use this, you can also right click here and play this scene if you're not ready to select a particular scene to be the one. 4K, yeah. Now the game is quite cool because of the entire scene. So you can actually use this to actually create an AA game as AAA game. So once you have all the resources and the time to be able to put into doing the most professional stuff. So we have this, it's loading. I have my play already, and it's gonna take a bit of time to load for the first time because this thing is quite huge because it has a 3D scene and a lot of stuff inside it. That's why I didn't want to test it first, and I hope it will be able to go far. And sorry, it might become slow a bit when I start testing this game, so just bear with me because this is not a gaming laptop I'm using to make this game. So if you want me to get a new one, so just go support me on it.io so we can actually get a new gaming laptop for this our game developments. And I want to use this to also encourage those who want to enter into video games and they don't have their own, they don't have their own laptop that is a gaming laptop. You don't have to wait till you get a gaming laptop before you can start. You can literally be able to start with what you have. If you have a simple laptop, Godot engine is designed for almost any kind of laptop. Almost any kind of laptop, it will run it very well. So it's still taking a bit of time. Because I want to be able to use this to show you a few things before we actually continue. But this is a very huge scene, so it might take some time for it to show us what we have. So we'll have this, it's still loading. So if you have any question as I'm waiting for this thing to load, I can be able to answer any question. FG, do you have any question so far? Do you have any question? And near stage, I didn't get that. I didn't get the thing you just wrote now. And near stage, I didn't get that. You can put that up again. Okay, so our game has opened. So now you can use the arrow key. See, I didn't put anything, just that control he already has. The reason why this thing is floating in the air is because of the way the collision shape is actually created. So, and also I think there is some thing with this thing. So look at that. You see you can jump up. So let's see, we'll go up the mountain. Yep. You can just go up the mountain there. Alright, so we'll have that there. Let's see if this is colliding. It's not colliding. Probably the collision shape is not working properly. Okay, I think we have to turn on some few things to make this to collide. So, but for the meantime, and this is not the proper collision shape that we actually have on these objects. So we can be able to use that. So that's basically how we can be able to create that. So we have been able to create a playable game without actually writing a single line of code using add-ons and templates of code templates inside Godot engine. So I'm going to stop this from here. All right, so let's go back now. So by default now I'm going to select this one. I'm going to hide it because I want to use a new character. Okay, so I'm going to go to my asset store. I'm going to type third person. That should be third person. Come on, let me go. Third person controller or third person controller. Okay, let's see if we'll have it there. I'm waiting for the picture to open up. I think it should be this one, the third person controller here. Yep, that's it. So this is the older version. I made a video about this some years back, I think about a year or thereabout. So this is the older version of it. So it has the Godot character on it, and it has a lot of controls on it. I love this particular character. So it comes with a lot of things. I'll be showing you how to turn off all these widgets that come with it. So you can click on download, and you can be able to use this to actually create a playable game that you can be able to start playing immediately. So just click on that and click on download. Okay, so we'll have this, and if you look at what's happening here, it's going to be showing you some things. So you have the playable character there. So this is your playable character. Let me see where the character actually is. The character is quite very hidden. Let me see where I can find him. Player character scene. Look at it there. Player character scene. So player underscore character. So I'm going to install it. So no matter wherever I install it, it doesn't really matter. So, but I would love to install it not on this place, but inside my add-ons. That's where I want you to go to. So I will go to my add-ons and install it. Just select this, and look at now, it will still be scattered. So I want to create a new folder for it. So I'm going to go back there and create a new folder and call this my third person controller. Yeah, we can use a swag character, but that will require doing visual scripting for that. So I have this now, and I can be able to select that. So right now it's going to be dropping this inside add-ons, third person controller, and all of them will be inside here. So I'm just going to click on install. So the reason why I did is so that I won't have overlapping projects. I don't even know where they are coming from, because that's one of the things that Godot will, you have in Godot Pay. You actually have overlapping projects. You don't even know which one is which. So those are the things you want to actually put into consideration when you are working. Make sure you put them in the right place. So allow this to put in the entire controls that you need. So whenever this hides, just click it out and click back to it, and you see it comes up. So just wait for it to be able to finish installing. But there are other add-ons you can be able to use. It all depends on what you're trying to achieve. So one of the things you have to learn in Godot is, what add-on should I use when I don't want to do certain things. You want to know as many as possible as you need to. Okay, so once it's done, let's go back and be sure everything is open. Still taking a bit of time, so just wait for it to finish downloading everything. So this character, it has tons and tons of control. I have not seen any character that, this is one of the best add-ons, and it has the character, the Godot manicure as the character, so it's quite very, very cool. So just wait for it to be able to finish downloading. Whenever the option hides, you just click on it. Okay, it has finished installing, so you click on OK right now, and now I can go to my level and just right click here, camera 3D. Yeah, you can use cameras. This thing comes with a camera, so if you want to make a camera completely, there is phantom camera. You can also use phantom camera add-on. It comes with all the camera controls you can be able to use, although it's basically for camera photo, it doesn't have much control, but this one I'm using now is going to have a lot of control. So I'm just going to click on instantiate child, and I'm going to type player, and I have my player. Let me see, I think that should be it there. Let me see, go to my 3D scene, and oh, that's not the one I want to use. Let me come in here, instantiate child, and let's go down and search for it. Let me close this and go inside. So we'll have this, and I have my terrain, my player character. So this is my player character. Let me double click on it and see what it looks like. So this is what the player character is going to look like. So this is what I'm actually trying to use, this particular character here. So and once you bring it in, you can be able to do a lot of things on it. That's what we want to be able to achieve. So just allow it to load. So if you look at now, you can't literally see directly from here. If you look at when I search for it inside my scene here, I couldn't see it, probably because of the arrangement of how it is. So but once you open it up here, just find this particular one and look at everything. It has the animations on it. So one of the first thing you want to do, if you go to your 2D scene, you see you have this thing coming out, the current state, velocity, a lot of things coming with it. Okay, so we want to change this. So I'm going to go down to where I have my HUD, and I'm going to just click on this eye, and it's going to hide all those HUDs, so it's not going to be showing them when I start using this player. So once I do that, I'm going to save this, and I'll go back to my level 1, and the fastest and the best way that you're going to use it here is just simply come in here, drag it from here, and just drop it inside the scene here, and you have a new character that you can be able to use for your controls. So now I can save this. Now another add-on I want to be able to use, I'm going to display use this very soon. So another add-on I want to be able to use, okay, let me go back to my terrain 3D and check out something. There is something that happened where these bodies, the rocks, were not colliding. Let me check why they are not colliding. Right click on them and let me see if their collision is not enabled, if there is any option for that. I don't think there is any option for that. So but by default is meant to be able to collide once you add it in this particular place. So we have collision shape on it here, so for whatever reason it's not colliding. So probably I wouldn't say it's a bug, so but I think probably it's some other thing. So but these are technical problems that we can solve with time during the debugging process. So right now I want to be able to put some buildings here. All right, so let's go put some buildings. So but before we put a building, we need to do something. Let's finish working with this character we are working on now. So I will click on this character here, and if you look at here, we'll have the code for the character. Now you need to add some things to be able to use that character. So once you add that character, now you have to go down. Let me just go down to over here. We'll have we want to get the functions that, or the properties you're going to be using. They usually somewhere you can see them. We'll have the jump. I want to get to the controls. I think I'm in the wrong place. Let's go down, keep going down. And you have to be going towards this side because some of them, the codes are over there. Oh, it's not showing me exactly what I'm looking for. So what I'm actually looking for right now, let me just go over here. This is my player. What I'm looking for is my UI left. We'll have the controls and then different controls that he actually uses. So we need to actually get the particular ones that it's using, and we have the jump gravity, but we don't need that. Where is our controls? That's what we're trying to actually get. So you have to have some level of knowledge of coding for you to be able to still use this particular add-on especially. And this is my run speed. So if you select this, you can actually see some of the work variables, the run variables, over here you can be able to use. So let me see, I'm trying to get the actual, this is jump variable, this is run variable. Move forward. It's not here. Go and scan through it properly. Okay, you have squash and stretch over here. So let's go over here and try to use this. So I want to be able to create some things. So if you look at here, you have your input map. By default, I think it comes in with basic controls, but you have things like, let me just type them. We'll have the jump, and we also have the run, and then I think we also have the forward. You have the backward, and I think there's other options. I'm still going to have to go back there to check it out. So for the jump, I can use my left click, just click on your left click and you pick it up. For my run, I'm going to be using my right click, just right click on right click and just click OK. For my forward, you press your, let me use my W, and then for the backwards I'm going to use S, just press S. So we'll have right and left, so I think it should be right or either UI right, I can't remember the particular one, right and also left. So we'll have the right, use the D, and then left you're going to use the A and just click OK. So you can just click that, and I think we'll have to come back here to check these things properly so we'll know what is actually missing. So once you put that, you create that. So this basically is how you put additional things. Even if you want to be able to add for controls for a joystick like your mouse or your PlayStation, you can actually have a lot of the controls here. You have a lot of controls you can be able to use. So I'm still going to come back to that probably. So but that's basically how you can be able to add additional controls in your game. So let's play this and see. I think you should be able to play faster this time around. So the thing there is that what I was looking for is the actual, you have to actually get the actual variables or the actual name for the controls, the UI left or UI, if it is left or right or UI left or UI right. So either any of them that was using this particular code, that's what you have to check for. If you find it, that's what you should have to put in your input map. So the input map is like telling it what it should use. So it's just like the control is going to be using for controlling. So we'll have something like this now. And this is a very nice control. So I'm using my mouse right now to control this. I love this particular thing. So you can be able to use your arrow. So by default, okay, by default the arrow forward, up and down is already controlling it. Let me see. And the left and right is also controlling it. Okay, so even without adding all those things, so then you can use your space bar to jump. I don't necessarily think you have to add all those things I added, so you can try it out, adding it without adding it. Try out the game and also do it without it. So it's actually trying to jump. So anytime I try to jump for the first time, it will hang. That's the experience I've always had in this particular game. So but after the first one, it starts jumping normally. So we'll have this now. So we'll have something like this. If you want to run, if you want to switch to side camera, okay, you don't have to even put all those input map. I just did that. You can learn that from So you see that you can use that thing I did to just learn how to use that input map. So you can just right click to go to the side. So if I go this way, so I can come in backwards. Okay, so now if I want to sprint, I think that should be shift. You hold down shift on your keyboard and you can sprint up. I love this particular one. Then as you're moving, you can also have more controls by pressing control on your keyboard. If you just press control, you can be able to move, and the mouse right now is not controlling, it's just moving like this, and I can use the mouse to control it again. If I press control again, I can use my mouse to control again the view of the camera. If I press again, I can't. I can just lock it on that part. So we'll have that there. So that's basically the things you can be able to do with your controls. I think there are other controls, other things. I think V and B, you can use to actually zoom out for your control for this particular character. So imagine if you wanted to do something like that. So with V, you can come closer. With B, you can actually go farther. So you can just go in. So this control is very important. You can use it to actually create a very playable game that you can be able to use in your game. Okay, so let's go closer. Let's see if it's going to collide with this particular thing, or it is not colliding. So probably we'll still have to work on our meshes to get the collision properly, because currently the collision is not working the way it's supposed to be for the mesh instance. So I'm hoping it's not a bug. Okay, so that's basically how you can be able to actually create that thing. So you can have something like this. It can be working towards the camera too. So those are the things you can be able to use to create different kinds of experiences inside your game. Okay, so I'm going to stop this. So other add-ons we want to be able to add, I'm going to also add the K-Kit City Builder. So there it is, very nice. It is very nice, collection of assets that are free, MIT licensed, that you can use to build a real city instance. So we'll call it K-Kit. So in K-Kit, I think that should be KK. I think it's KK or something. I hope it's still available. Or am I getting the spelling wrong? Let me type city and get the actual. So so you can check. I have a version of this that we have done before. Let me see if we can be able to get that. K-Kit City Builder. Let me see, City Builder. Alright, so let me see if I can search for it little by little here. Let's see. Now, one of the things about this new asset store, some things were renamed, some things are not even available currently on it. So just know that some of these things are going to be changing. If you are watching the past videos that I actually have, so you can be able to actually have that in mind. So I'm going to use the other one. Let me see if there's any. So the K-Kit City Builder is more like a collection of different assets you can be able to use. If you watch my how I built a game in one day, that's the asset I actually use. If you go to my channel, you actually see the video there. So how I built a car game in one day. So I think a lot of things have changed here. So but if you're using older versions of Godot engine, you actually see the K-Kits. I thought the K-Kit is still here, but unfortunately it's no more. I'm not sure it's here. I'm doubting if it's here. For a gun, I've not used any gun tutorial. Okay, I think there is one there, but I think it's for first-person shooter or something. So, but probably we'll try out something. We'll check and see if there's anyone that is here. So, but I don't think this is actually here. So let's use the one that is here. Let's use a virtual joystick. So imagine if you are building a game for your mobile device. So you can use a virtual joystick for it. So I have my virtual joystick and I can be able to use this. There is one, I think on Marco Pass or someone, the former one that was there. This is by a new person, so I can just click on that and fully featured, highly configurable joystick, so you can download. So if you want to program this, it will take a bit of time. So you can use that. If you know how to program, you can actually go on to program, whatever you want to program. But this one will enable you to. I think my network is having some issues, so it's taking a bit of time to connect to this particular one. Okay, it has finished downloading. So I'm going to just come in. Okay, look at it there. So let me see. So let me just install it the way it is and see if it's going to reflect. So this is another version. This is not the original version that I've been using before, but let's just see if this version will be able to pull off the things that we want it to be able to do. So you have different add-ons that you can be able to use. Visual joystick, there is Dialogic. You can also use Dialogic for your player communication. So you want to be able to communicate with someone, you can also use Dialogic for that. So this is the visual joystick I just used now. So but let me check whether it will come out. By default it should be able to. Okay, you see it has an error, so it wasn't properly arranged. So okay, so I'm doubting if it's going to be able to work. So let's leave that for now. I think this particular version, some of these versions are not updated for the latest versions of Godot. So I'm going to simply save this. Let me just save and go out and come back again here. Click OK. Alright, so let me just see if it actually came into my plugins. So it didn't come in with my plugins here. So by default, usually you can just add it as a child node. That's how it comes in. So let's see if we can be able to see the thing there. Sometimes it doesn't come out from here, and I will have to go into this place. So I have my VR joystick. So unfortunately for us, it didn't come in properly the way we want it to be able to come in. So we're not going to be using this video joystick. So but by default, it should be able to give us a sample of it. So it didn't install properly. Let's try installing it again, but this time around let's try using a folder. So the reason why I don't like using folders is that sometimes when you use a folder, it's going to not be able to even see it. So you see something like this now. So let me change this to my add-on, and I'm going to create a folder for it. Call it virtual joystick. So let me see. So let's open this up, and it comes in with just a resource. And funny enough, it doesn't have anything inside it. So I'm trying to check whether, okay, look at where the joystick actually entered into another resource. So this, it has been scattered already. So let's leave that for now. You could actually leave that off. We'll look for another better one that we can use. So but generally in the older versions of Godot engine, you can actually be able to actually use it via joystick. I think 4.4 downwards, you can be able to use it via joystick for whatever you want to do. So we already have this here, and our assets are the things we want to be able to use. So now let me go into the next topic. So let's talk about coding. So let's talk about advice, because I think we have been here for almost how many hours? Let me see how many hours we have been here. We have been on for quite a while. All right, so now let's go in and talk about something. So advice for choosing. So this game is playable. We can export this game, but before I talk about exporting, let's talk about coding. So you can go for GDScript, you can go for visual scripting. Now which one should you go for? Now if you are someone that want to go into deep core game development, like you want to create the kind of God of War kind of game and other kinds of very complicated kind of games, all right, so I'll advise you to go for GDScript. And the reason why you go for GDScript, that GDScript has more, you have more customization. You can customize things however you want to be able to be done, so you have more control over the things you do. But then if you're a designer, a 3D artist, or just a writer that wants to create an interactive version of whatever content you have created, whether you have written a book, you want to create a digital version of your book, maybe you have graphics and you want to create a visual novel, and you just want a simple thing to be able to do that. It's not, you don't have to go learn some kind of complex coding for that. Visual scripting is what I would advise you to do. All right, now if you look at my channel, you can see that I've been creating very huge games, and they're really small though, but the idea here is that you can be able to actually use it to create a game, a 3D game or 2D game. It has a lot of abilities. And if you watch my video on two games like the first tree and also Chucho Charles, everything was created using visual scripting. So I know visual scripting is still growing in Godot engine, but trust me, if you look at the project I've worked on, you see that it has a lot of potential. That's one thing I can assure you. So if you want to be if you are a 3D artist or a game developer or a writer that want to start making contents like what I'm doing right now, visual scripting is what I would advise for you. But if you want to go into hardcore video games, multiplayer games, complex mechanics, go for GDScript. I can't stress that enough. So just know that that's what you should go for. So that's the two things, okay, that you have to actually go. Then other things, if you want to enter into indie game development, all right, so the thing you want to do is just learn how to use other code resources. There are free resources out there on the internet you can be able to use, and when you use them, it speeds up the things you want to do. You can also use AI to speed up some things you want to be able to do. So don't use AI for everything. I myself, I don't use AI for everything. I use it for maybe some trying to get ideas. Sometimes if you want to use props, you don't have the money to buy those props, maybe different kind of things in your environment. You don't have the money, you can use AI to generate some of them. But make sure you don't let AI do everything for you, because trust me, games will, the idea of video games is that you want to be able to play an experience. So if you just type in something and just put it up without any work put into it, it's not really organic, understand? So there's still a place for AI in the game development environment, but there's still a place for human beings to also do their thing very well. So now finally, let's see how we can export this game for Windows. So we have a simple game that we can be able to use now, a playable game. So we want to export it for Windows. To export, the first thing we want to do is we're going to go. You're welcome. Zyro, you're welcome. So if I go to my project here, so we're just doing a bit of beginner tutorial for those who want to use Godot engine. So if there's anything that you want me to cover in this particular topic, I've covered the basic things that we need to know. All right, so now I'm going to go to my project here and I'm going to go to export. So if I click on export, it's going to tell me, okay, what are you trying to export? Okay, so what version? So if you click on add here, I have my Android if you want to go for Android, but for you to do this, there's a lot of process. I won't want to do that in this class. It's very, very yeah, I did the joystick, yeah, but it's still having some issues. I think because the version I use, I think by Macchio is that version is not available currently on Asset Lib. Okay, so probably what I will do is that I'll have to go get it from another project and then bring it into this place. That's what I have to do. So, but for this particular one, it's not available on the Asset Store. Some things that used to be in the Asset Lib are not available on the Asset Store. I think they have to migrate it. I don't think they are the same thing. From my experience, I don't think they're the same thing. They are a bit different. Some people have not migrated yet. So, but I might be wrong, so maybe you just check and I will still go back to it soon. But let's try this out first. So if I click on add, I can just go up here and I want to export for Windows. Okay, so you have different versions. That's one of the things about Godot. You can almost export to different kind of versions. So I'm going to go for Windows desktop. So when I do my Windows desktop, it's telling me, okay, what do you want to manage export? Okay, so I don't have my export template installed on this particular version of Godot. So you have to do that. So if you click on this manage export, so you see this version, you can be able to select that. Okay, so I will say, okay, I want to import all this here. So you see, now this is one way of doing it. You can install it. All right, so you see install selected items here. Okay, or you can go to your website. Let's say, for example, we'll go to this website. Let's go to Godot. Let's go to Godot website, and if you go down here, let me see where the asset this thing is. So have they removed it completely? Usually at the bottom we always have it. Oh, for some reason it's not down here. Let me click on downloads things here and see if it will go to my download page. Okay, that's it here. So if you look at here, we'll have all downloads. We'll have the templates, export template. Look at it here. So for all this, you can be able to use this for all the ones that you want to be able to use. Okay, so you can click on here and download this. It might take a bit of time, but let's try and do it from this side and see if it will be good for us. So let me see how fast my download can be. So I'm going to click on install selected items, and this is going to take a bit of time. Let me see if it's, oh, I can't be able to track this. It's going to be taking a bit of time to install. Okay, it's going. So we'll have this here, and I think I installed, let me see all the things I'm installing. So it's going to be installing different versions of this, and you have to literally wait for it to finish up installing. I want to be number one. Yeah, but the FG is already the number one commenter, so you can continue. Let's see the person that does. You're already number two. So we'll have this. So you can download all this. If you don't want to download that, you can simply come up here and also use this one to download. Let me see if I can download this export template from here. So we'll look at another way of being able to install it. This is for Windows. This is for so look at that here. Let me see the one that will finish up faster. 1.2 gig. That's huge. That's huge. I think I will stop it here. Let me just pause this here. It will take a bit of time. So let me just leave that. Let me see if this will be able to finish. So this is for Windows, and probably I will have to stop the other ones. So another thing there is that you have to wait for it to be able to finish installing before you can be able to export our game. Yep, I can export Android, but the setting is quite huge. There are a lot of settings. I can't even finish the settings right here, okay? Because I have to do a lot of things. This is more like a beginner tutorial, but there are a lot of videos on that online. You can be able to actually watch them. So, but the key thing here is that you have to install your Android SDK, your Android Studio, and then you have to connect you have to go to your projects settings, and you do some settings on the things. There are a lot of settings you have to actually set to be able to export. And even recently I discovered there is this feature it has where you have to do some other things, because when I exported the first time I exported with Android, for Android, it's actually on my phone. Let me see if I can be able to launch that. I installed. It's actually used. I think that was 3.3 or thereabout that I actually used for that particular one. And that one, was quite cool. It was quite very easy to work with. So I don't think it's actually in this phone. I think it's in the other phone I'm using for my screen here. So, but you can be able to do that. So once you export to Android, there are different new features that are coming up that you can be able to actually use. So let me see what is happening here. I'm trying to export. Let me see how fast it's going to be. It might not be able to finish. Okay, we'll have Windows that's finished. So it will start Linux, and we'll also have Mac. Let me see. I might stop it. Thank you very much, Zairo. Thank you very much for that. So this is so the thing about Godot Engine is that almost everything you need is in one software. You just download stuff, you build your thing. Like we have built everything, we didn't even consult another software. Everything is actually inside here. So with add-ons and other things, you can be able to actually create almost anything you want to create. So we'll just wait for it, and let me see if we can be able to finish this. I didn't get you said I don't reel. What's that? Okay. I didn't get your comment. Okay, so this is still going down. Let me see if this Android. So you see my Android, these guys have been installed on my system. I tried setting up recently. After exporting it was still having some issues. So I will still go back to, on these latest versions that I have my APK, some things already installed here. So let me just wait for the Linux to finish installing. We want to export for Windows so that we can play the game without actually, anything. We just want to play the game without Godot. So this is something we can give to anybody, and the person can be able to actually play the game as long as on Windows desktop, okay, on a Windows thing. So it all depends on how fast the network is. Mini menu, what's that? Okay, you mean a menu that we can be able to use. So if you want a menu, okay. before we export, we should create a menu, but that will warrant us writing code. That's how it works. We have to write a code. But I'm going to show you some things that we're going to set on this particular character, on this game to set it up. So I'm trying to avoid writing code in this particular class. Okay, so I already have a tutorial I made on that. Okay, thank you, Zero. So the thing we are doing, if you look at the topic is actually beginner tutorial to Godot 4.6. So I'm doing a beginner tutorial. So this covers for a first-person user. That's someone that is using Godot for the first time. And from the beginning of the video, I talked about what Godot is used for, the interface, and I described almost every single thing you can talk about in the interface. And I use different nodes for creating characters, and we're able to create a playable game without writing a single line of code. You understand? So we use different add-ons, like the sky 3D, the terrain 3D, our third-person player. We're able to use different add-ons to create a playable game. And what we're doing right now is that we're trying to export this game to Windows. So the goal is that, imagine someone joins Godot for the first day and is watching this video. The person should be able to go through this video and see how they can be able to, create a game, export the game, and start playing the game, even share the game with their friends. So that's the idea of this particular tutorial. Okay, so if you didn't have, I think I've been here for almost 3 hours now. So almost 3 hours, yeah. So I think it's one of my longest live. So that's the thing there. So if you have a question, you can come in. And FG is still talking about mini menu. I don't know if you mean mini menu like a menu for the start game, or you have mini menu like a menu where you can select something. But anything like that, if you are talking about a menu, we'll have to start doing some coding. And we're already up to 3 hours in this live, so I won't want it to be a bit longer, because I want people to also be able to watch this video in the future on their own. So right now I already have this. So Linux has a problem because I'm not on Linux, so probably has a problem here. So but I'm just going to leave that. If you want to install for Android these things here, I don't want to do that for now, so I'm just going to close that. So now let's go back to this and go to export. So right now you see my email, I select the Windows, is showing me everything is okay. Now let's go into the thing now. So let's call this our, what's the name of the game? Let's call it Godot 4.7. No, I want a cool name. Let's call it Godot Player. Let's call it Godot Player. That's the name of the game. Okay, so we'll have advanced option. It's runnable right now. So what are you exporting it to? Okay, if you open this up, you have some other options that you can be able to get. So but let's leave that for now. So if you open it, you see you have debug and release, your custom template and whatever. So but we're not using that for now. So where are you exporting it to? I'll click on this and let me export it to inside my folder. This particular folder I'm actually using right now, I want to export it to this particular folder. So I'm going to just go back a bit. Okay, let me see here. I'm going to create a folder called exported game. I'm putting this inside that particular folder, exported game. I'll call it exported Windows game, so that in case I create another one another time. So click OK. Those projects. Okay, those projects. So I have this. So this is the file name. So let me call it. If you just save, you see it's going to ask you for a name. So I'm going to say, what's the name again? Godot Player. So I'm going to call it Godot Player. Godot Player. That's the name of the game. So just save. Oh, and I forgot to add my extension. So let me close this and do it again. Come click and Windows game. So you have the Godot Player. All right. So it's actually .exe right here. So let's do .exe and you click on save, and that's what it's going to be saving for. Okay, it's going to save it as Godot Player.exe. That's the project. Now if you come down here, there are other things you can be able to set, like the application, modify resources and different things. So that the thing I like doing is the icon. What's the icon for the game? All right, so this is how you set up your game if you want the game to look professional as much as possible. So you click on this icon and you see I have my icon here already. So let me see if I have any other picture that I can use. You can create this using another software. So look at this is SVG file. So let me see if I have my demo. Let's go to our add-ons. I think I should have another texture here. Oh, no texture here. Okay, you have an icon here. So you have different icons here. So imagine if this is an SVG file, you can create this inside Inkscape or any other software that you can use to create it. See, you can select any other picture here. So I want to see if I could get something a bit more interesting. Third person, horde. So I think it uses more of SVG files. So I'm not seeing anyone I like. So I'm going to just select one here. Let me select this one that is this one here. I'll select this and I'm going to click on open. Now if you look at what's happening, that is now the new icon that you are seeing there. So we'll have the console wrapper icon. So this console wrapper icon is, if you look at it, you say more like an icon. There are ones icon that will actually come when you actually start the game, but that's not, this is just the console that you're going to be using here, the console wrapper icon. So we're going to also use that the same one, but let me use something different so we'll see the difference between all of them. So we'll have terrain. I'm going to go for my icon. I'm going to use a different icon this time around. Let me use this one here. And so the different icon now. So the file version, you can put the file version, the products version, the company name, we can call it Visual Coding Hub. And then product name, you can call it player, Godot player. This is just fictitious stuff I'm putting there. Godot player. So then the other things you can be able to put trademarks and other stuff. Then if you go to resources, you see, let's see if there's another thing we want to be able to add. An encryption, we can just leave all these things for the meantime, and scripts. So after you're done with this, everything is done. Okay, so you can export the project, okay, or you can export the PCK, that's the playable version. This is not a playable build, okay, only. Okay, this is actually a packed version of the project. Okay, so let's export this project now as a, see what you're clicking on export project, click on export project, and it's exporting as a .exe. That's what it's doing right now to this place. So I'm going to get that soon enough. So once is this, okay, you can export with debug if you want to, but I'm going to export with that. All right, so we'll just click on that, save, and you wait for it to actually export the game. So to be sure, I'm going to click on this and come back again and click on it, and you see it's still loading. So you just wait for it to be able to finish. So we have been able to start from the beginning and create a game without writing any single line of code and export the game. And let's see if we can play the game on our laptop. You know, it's going to be lagging probably when I'll be playing it because this is not designed for playing. All right, that's for gameplay capture. Okay, so we have this. I'm going to close this for now, and let me just go down here. Let me open this up. I want to be able to, where is my, okay, look at my exports and open file in Explorer. So I'm going to open the file in my Explorer. Let me see if it has opened. No, I don't want you to run it from here. I want to see, let me go directly to open it myself. For some reason it's not able to. Okay, let me do it from here. Let's open a demo. I'm trying to, okay, let's open it for me. So okay, so let me go into my comment. Let me open this up so that I will just enter into the place where it's meant to be. So I'm navigating to my Godot folder. Okay, so this is what I've been waiting for, and it's taking time to actually open up. So this is what I was waiting for. So let's go to our file that we created. Export window. So this is what it comes in. So if you look at now, the console, that's the icon there. Can you see that for playing for the console? And this one is for normal.exe. So this is for the console and this is for the exe. So this is the main pack file, 41.6 MB. That's the file size. Okay. So if you want to play right now, we can just come in here. This is the icon that you are going to see. So if you want to design the icon for your game, you can just design it from here and you can play this automatically. This is actually what launches your game for you to play the game. So that thing that was coming up was just to protect me from any issues. So let's open this. Right click and open it or run it. I'm trying to double click, but for some reason it's actually trying to edit the thing. So let's wait for this game. Now there is something that we didn't do, we forgot to do, but those ones are more for advanced users. So but I will still talk about that before I end the live. Oh, no main scene. Wow. So okay, it's good that we actually made this mistake. So let's go back. So we have seen how this thing works. Okay, so I'm going to delete that thing we just did. So we didn't select any main scene. So that was one problem that we did. I thought I did that the first time I was trying to play the game. So we didn't end up using that feature. So now let's go back and do something. So first I'm going to go back here and go to my project settings, go to my general. So I need to set more things. So I finished setting that thing. I did the setting there. So let me go back to do some settings that we missed. So the setting that we missed here, hope is not so laggy. You can't play the game. Now you can give us a download link. Okay, no problem. I'll make it available on itch.io. I'll make the game available on itch.io. Zyro, I'll make it available on itch.io once I'm done with this live. Okay. So probably you have to be checking the description from time to time to see the updates, because I might not do it right now. So I have this description of the game. So you see the Godot live here. I will have the description of the name of the project. So I'm going to change this to this is a product actually. I'm not going to tamper with this. You see that thing we already changed is here. Okay, so we can come in here and change this to, let me come in here and do that change again. Sorry, I think that should be in the add-on terrain. And let me use a different one this time around. Let me use this plus. So this is the icon for the game now. All right, this I'm changing it right now from here. So you can also change it from here from the project settings. Okay, so this is the description. You can call it game we made on YouTube live. So I'm going to use that there, and I'm going to now go to my run. So what's my main scene? This is the problem you had why you didn't run it for the first time. So you can click here and just select a particular scene, all right, and say my level 1. That's the one I want to be my main scene. If you don't want to do that, you can click here on the play and select the main scene that you want it to be playing. So but if you didn't set it at the beginning, just come in here as your main scene and set it there. Then your boot splash. Now the boot splash is very important, because this, when you play the game, by default it comes with Godot logo. All right, if you want it to come with a different logo, this is where you do it. So this is the color it comes in with. Show image. What image is that? So you can click here and select an image that you want to show. So let me say I go to my terrain again. Let me use a different image this time around. Okay, so it's a PNG that it requires right now. So let me look for a PNG image. It's not able to understand. It requires a PNG image. Where do I get a PNG image right now? I need a PNG. Third person arts. Okay, so let's say for example, this is a perfect logo for it. So this is what it will show at the beginning of the game. So I'm gonna put that there. So that's the thing. Configure, run, and boost splash. Those are the things you want to do. Another setting you can also work on is if you are making it to be something that will work on a touch screen. Okay, maybe you have a button you're clicking. You go over here. If you added that joystick, you go over here and turn on the emulates this touch as mouse, touch from mouse. You click here for being able to use it inside your laptop. Okay, so but we're going to leave that for now. So we're going to go down to our Windows. Where is our Windows? Windows. Look at here, display window. By default is actually in Windows. That's the size right here. So currently is windowed. Okay, you can play the game in full screen. If you want to play in full screen, once it starts, it goes full screen. You can actually do that if that's what you're aiming for. All right. So, but that's basically the thing you can do here. I want to go into some other intricate stuff you can be able to do. There is expand if you want to keep a particular width, right? But it might not affect us so much here because of the way the thing is actually, positioned. Especially we don't have any UI, so you won't be able to see the importance of all these things. So, but I will leave that for more advanced use. So, but just know that when you want to, when your view or your UI, they're not actually, going fine, you can actually come up here and change some of these things to see the one that will keep the scaling of your thing. All right. So let's I'm gonna just do expand. Let's use let's leave it this way for the meantime and see what it's gonna look like in the game. So you can actually play that, and let's close this. So we are finished configuring our application, so we can now go and close this. Let's export again. So we'll go to projects, click on export for the second time, and the name of our game is Godot Player, and our export place is this Godot thing here. All right, don't worry about what is here. It's already there. Let me just, okay, it's still there. Let me delete it. Let me just delete it completely, or better still, I will try to change the location. I think it's still running in the background or something. Let me create a new one. Exports window game is difficult to select. I think it's running something in the background. Windows game 2. So that's what we're going to do now. So export game 2, Godot Player, and then we can just save. So once we click on save, we'll go to our export projects, and size. The size of the game is I think 41 point something MB. So just click on the Godot Player there and just click on save.exe. You can just save it and wait for it to export the game. So let me see from my other screen. Maybe I started exporting. So we're exporting right now. So we're exporting the game, and we have not written any code, and we have been able to create a game and export the game that we created without writing a single line of code using Godot engine. Okay, so you just wait for it. So we've been able to position everything. So I have a lot of different example projects you can be able to get on it.io. You can check my descriptions and other places to be able to actually, it's right from my YouTube channel, and you can see my it.io. You can go there to download a lot of free ones, and go spawn me there if you want to. So over here, look at what it looks like right now, like we did before. Let me close this. So we have this now, so I can just use this one. The one I'm going to be using now is this one here, Godot Player ESE, not the console. So right click and let's play this game. So it's playable. It doesn't have some, enemies or whatever, right? It just has a lot of stuff on it. I've been able to create a lot of stuff on it. So let's wait for it and allow the game to load. All right, so it's loading now, and you see our logo comes up. That's the logo. So if this could be the name of your game or whatever you want it to be, you can actually do that. Can be anything you want to put there, you can actually put there, and boom. So someone was saying about main menu. We don't need the main menu because we require coding for us to do main menu, and this for beginners. So if you like this video, you can put in the comments you want me to do a next tutorial, and you tell me what you want me to do in the next tutorial for this particular project, and I will do that. So this is our game we are playing now. Let me press Control and expand our screen. Oh my god, this game is nice. Okay, so let's do that. So we'll have, so this playable game now, I can send it to anybody. I just made this game today, and it took us about how many hours? About 2 or 3 hours. I think it should be about 3 hours. So you can jump. So we'll have that there. And be able to move around, and it has some sounds on it too. Let's see if we could climb this mountain. So I don't know how fast this is in the gameplay that you are watching. Oh, I'm stuck. Oh, let's come out of there. All right, so we'll have that. Okay, no problem. I will make the link available. I will link this spread so that it's available for everybody to actually download. That's done to our. So you can literally be able to control this however you like. So that's actually how you can make your games inside Godot engine. So if you do this, you can go and call yourself a game developer. You have created a game, although you didn't do any work. All right, so do you have any other question that you want us, please optimize it, because it's the laggiest Godot game I've ever seen. So the lagging doesn't really come because of the game itself. It comes because of the laptop I'm using. I'm using a low-end PC. It doesn't even have a graphics card, the one I'm using to make this game currently. So that's the reason why it's lagging. All right, it's not optimized for gameplay, especially streaming. If I play this, like in my own experience here, it's smooth. All right, but when you're streaming, you need a gaming laptop to be able to actually configure it to be able to stream properly. You understand? It's not normal. You don't use normal laptop that don't have graphics cards for streaming video games. So I understand why it's, I can even see it from here. It's actually very, very slow. I get the point. So, but I will make this product available. Okay, I will make it available so that you can play the game yourself and see that it's not lagging. It's just lagging because of my own laptop and the things I have here. So do you have any other question that you want us to talk about in this thing here? So this is just like let me just close this. So I have this here. So that's basically how you can be able to actually work. So do you have any other question? I'm waiting for questions. Anybody that has any question, you can be able to talk about the question and I will attend to the question, because I'm done for today. It was the longest life we ever had. So any other question? If there's no other question, then I'll be going soon. Let me wait for people to come up to where I am. No, it's going to be able to run the game, Zyro. The game itself can be able to run. Streaming is a different problem on its own. All right, it's going to be able to run. You don't have to be afraid of that. The laptop I'm using is a very low-end PC, and is able to make the game and even be able to stream to an extent for this particular thing we are doing right now. So it's not really going to be a problem. Don't worry yourself about that. You can be able to play. Just once you open it, this is not even the full-fledged project. If you use the full-fledged project, you will see that it's quite very huge. Understand? Like the demo that came with the add-on is very huge. You don't want to open that on your laptop. So, but this one I have now is very easy to work with. Let me see. You can easily run it. Okay, your laptop can run it. You can put the spec for your laptop, so I will look at it and see if it's something I from my experience, if it's something that can run it, because I have low-end PCs that I've used to teach Godot engine to people, and they can run it and create their own games. Legend of Ikemba and other games I've created, on my channel, all of them were done with a very low-end PC. It's just that you don't use it for streaming. You can't use it for streaming your games. That's the only problem there. Okay. If there is no other question, I'll be going in about few minutes. In few minutes, I'll be going in few minutes. So, Zara, do you have any other question? FG, do you have any other question? So if you have any other question, you can just put it down there and I will just explain that for you. Okay, I'm waiting for your questions before I conclude my live, because we have been here for almost 3 hours. So we have been working on different things, and if you start from the beginning to watch this video, we describe almost every single thing, all the important things about Godot engine. I've talked about. If you want to take a screenshot, let's say for example, I want to take a screenshot, you can actually use that to do that. So I'm just waiting for your questions, and if there is no question, I will be logging off. I want to be sure, I want to get a response from Zyro and FG. I hope you are good for our class today, so that I can be able to go off. You have any question? If you have any question, you can ask, so that we can be able to. We have been able to create a game. We started with no game, and now we have a game that we created inside Godot engine. We exported everything, we built everything, and we exported it. Okay, I'm going to assume that we don't have any other questions, so I'll be ending the live right now. So thank you very much everyone for being part of the live. Zyro and FG is the #1 commenter. Thank you very much for the live today, and Zyro, thank you very much too, and I will see you in the next live, so you can put other comments later, so we'll talk about, I will check it out, and the video, the game itself, the project itself will be made available, both the project and also probably the playable version of it. I'll make it everything available for you to use. Okay, my PC isn't that bad, thought so. Now I'm surely it will run. Yeah, it will run the game, definitely it will run it. Yeah, I'm very sure it will run it. Let me see if we can. Yeah, I'm sure it will run it. Don't worry yourself about that. It will run it. Alright, thank you everyone for the live today. So I'm going to assume that there are no more comments. If there's any other comments, I will attend to that later. Alright, bye everybody.